The human body can be seen as both ordinary and extraordinary. Ordinary because we carry it with us every moment of our lives, often without stopping to notice the silent processes that unfold within it. And extraordinary because when we do pause to reflect, we realize that this structure is made up of countless smaller pieces working in harmony. To begin our quiet journey into the building blocks of the body, it helps to think of the body not as a single object, but as a living mosaic. Every moment, every breath, every beat of the heart depends on structures so small, they escape our eyes. Yet together they create the sensation of being alive. When we talk about building blocks, we are tracing the body from the smallest units, atoms, molecules, and cells, through tissues, organs, and finally, to the entire human form, a complete being resting within the flow of nature. The word building block brings to mind the image of small shapes being stacked, one upon another, forming something larger and more stable. In the body, however, these blocks are not lifeless stones. They are active, shifting, and responsive. Atoms and molecules move continuously, vibrating with energy, forming and reforming bonds. Cells divide, communicate, and specialize, creating tissues with different textures and strengths. Tissues weave into organs, each with a purpose, and organs connect into systems that sustain life. This layered design means that the body is not a rigid tower but a flexible network. The parts are joined in cooperation, and the whole remains steady even while its smallest pieces change from moment to moment. To imagine this more vividly, think of your own breath. Right now, as you inhale, oxygen molecules slip silently into your lungs. They cross thin membranes and enter your blood, where they are carried by red blood cells through branching vessels that reach every corner of your body. Those oxygen molecules drift into tissues, where they are welcomed by cells that need them to produce energy. Inside those cells, they enter mitochondria, small organelles, often called the powerhouses of the cell. Within them, a cascade of chemical reactions occurs, turning the potential energy in food into usable energy for movement, thought, and renewal. This entire sequence, from the air outside your body to the molecules deep within your cells, depends on countless building blocks working together without pause. There is comfort in realizing that these processes do not demand your conscious control. You do not need to remind your heart to beat, nor do you direct oxygen molecules to move along their path. The body does this quietly, automatically, with a wisdom inherited from countless generations of life before you. This steady background of activity allows you to rest, to sleep, and to dream, while your body maintains itself. Even when you are still, your cells are busy repairing tissues, producing proteins, and maintaining balance. The building blocks are always at work, like tiny caretakers keeping the house in order, so that you may simply inhabit it. In exploring the body, it is helpful to consider the idea of scale. At the largest scale, you are a complete organism, a whole person with thoughts, memories, and feelings. At a smaller scale, you are composed of organ systems, the circulatory system, the nervous system, the digestive system, and others that work together to keep you alive. Smaller still are the organs themselves, the heart, lungs, liver, skin, and brain. Beneath these organs are tissues, woven arrangements of cells bound together by common purpose. At the smallest living scale are the cells themselves, tiny yet complex, each one containing its own inner machinery. And beneath the level of life are molecules and atoms, the simplest building blocks of matter. This layered structure means that the body can be understood both as one unified being and as a vast community of smaller parts, each contributing in its own way. What makes the body's building blocks remarkable is their cooperation. No cell is truly independent within the human body. Even a single red blood cell, floating through the bloodstream, is serving tissues far from where it was formed. Neurons in the brain reach across synapses to pass signals, enabling thought and movement. Muscle fibers contract in unison, allowing the heart to pump or the hand to open and close. Each structure contributes to something larger, and in return, it depends on the work of others. This mutual dependence is what creates life as we know it. There is also a sense of resilience woven into this cooperation. If one part of the body falters, others often adjust. When water is scarce, the kidneys conserve it. When oxygen is limited, the heart and lungs work harder to deliver what is needed. When food is unavailable, the body carefully draws upon stored energy. This adaptability is not sudden or dramatic. It is quiet, gradual, and persistent. It allows life to continue even when conditions are not ideal. The building blocks are not only cooperative but flexible, able to adjust their roles to sustain the whole. Philosophers of the past often describe the body as a reflection of the cosmos, a microcosm within the larger world. There is wisdom in this image. The stars above us, born of atoms fusing in distant furnaces, are made of the same matter as the atoms within us. The rivers that flow across the earth mirror the blood that flows through our veins. The forests, with their branching trees, resemble the branching patterns of neurons within the brain. The building blocks of the body are, in this sense, not separate from the universe but continuous with it. The same atoms that now sustain your life may once have drifted in the atmosphere, been part of a leaf, or rested in ancient stone. Life is a cycle of transformation, and the building blocks of the body are participants in that cycle. As you listen, it is easy to imagine the body as a landscape of activity. Within you, trillions of cells are alive, each one maintaining its own delicate balance, each one a small world within a larger world. Within those cells, molecules interact in endless patterns, carrying energy, carrying instructions, carrying stability. The body is not silent. It hums with activity at every scale. Yet the hum is not chaotic. It is organized, rhythmic, and steady, like a gentle tide moving in and out, shaping the shore. In this lecture, we will move slowly through this hierarchy of building blocks. We will begin with the atoms and molecules, the simplest pieces of matter that create the foundations of life. Then we will rise to the level of the cell, where life begins to reveal its complexity. We will see how cells join together to form tissues, how tissues shape organs, and how organs combine into systems that sustain life. At each step, we will notice how the smaller gives rise to the larger, and how each level depends on the others. For now, it is enough to rest in the thought that your body, as it is in this moment, is a union of countless building blocks. They are older than you, older even than the human species, shaped over billions of years, born in the stars, carried through oceans and soils, arranged and rearranged into the form you now inhabit. They are not fixed but ever moving, and yet together they create the continuity of life. As you breathe softly, as your heart beats in its steady rhythm, those building blocks are at work. You need not guide them. They continue their quiet labor, and they will continue as you drift deeper into rest. 2. Atoms and molecules. At the very foundation of the human body lies something so small that it cannot be seen even under most microscopes. These are atoms, the most basic units of matter, the tiny structures that give substance to all things. When we imagine the body, we usually think of the visible parts, the hands, the eyes, the shape of the face. But beneath all of these lies a quiet architecture built from atoms arranged in countless ways. To picture an atom, think of it as a minute sphere with a center known as the nucleus, which contains protons and neutrons. And around that nucleus, electrons drift in constant motion. Though an atom is far smaller than even the tiniest cell, it carries weight, charge, and the potential to connect with others. It is in these connections that atoms reveal their true importance, because by joining together, they form molecules, and molecules are the first true building blocks of life. The body is made of trillions upon trillions of atoms, yet remarkably, most of them belong to just a handful of elements. 4 stand out above the rest: oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. Together, they make up the vast majority of the human body's mass. Oxygen is the most abundant, not only because it fills our lungs with every breath, but because it forms part of the water that saturates our tissues. Hydrogen is its companion in water, tiny but numerous, binding in pairs to oxygen to form the fluid that makes up about 2/3 of who we are. Carbon, perhaps the most versatile of all elements, provides the framework of life. Its ability to form bonds with itself and with many other atoms allows it to create the endless variety of molecules that shape our tissues and organs. Nitrogen, though less celebrated, is equally vital, forming the backbone of proteins and nucleic acids, which carry genetic instructions. These 4 elements, so simple on their own, become extraordinary when arranged together. Imagine a single droplet of water resting on a leaf after rain. That droplet is filled with countless molecules of H, O, each one formed by 2 hydrogen atoms joined to a single oxygen atom. Within your body, billions of similar droplets exist, composing your blood, your cells, and the fluids that cushion your joints. Water is more than a solvent or a filler. It is the medium in which nearly all biochemical reactions occur. It dissolves nutrients, carries waste, regulates temperature, and allows molecules to collide and interact. Without water, the body's molecules would be locked in place, unable to move, unable to exchange information or energy. Life itself is inseparable from water, and every atom within those molecules plays its part. Carbon, too, deserves quiet reflection. It is a modest element, small and unassuming, yet it has an extraordinary gift. Each carbon atom has 4 potential bonds, and this allows it to link with other carbons in chains, rings, and complex branching structures. From these arrangements arise sugars, fats, proteins, and the spiraling double helix of DNA. Every thought you have, every movement of your muscles, every repair made in your skin depends on molecules built upon carbon frameworks. It is no exaggeration to say that carbon is the backbone of life, and the flexibility of its bonds is what makes the complexity of the human body possible. From atoms come molecules, and from molecules come the substances that build the body. Among the most important are the macromolecules, proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, and nucleic acids. Each of these plays a role as essential as any organ or tissue, though they operate on a scale far smaller. Proteins are perhaps the most versatile. They are made of long chains of amino acids, which in turn are built from atoms of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and sometimes sulfur. Proteins form the fibers of muscles, the structure of hair, and the enzymes that accelerate chemical reactions. An enzyme, which is itself a protein, can take molecules that would otherwise drift aimlessly and bring them together at just the right angle to react. Without enzymes, the chemistry of life would be too slow to sustain us. Carbohydrates, by contrast, are the body's primary source of quick energy. Built from carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in simple ratios, they range from small sugars like glucose to long chains like starch or glycogen. When you eat bread, fruit, or rice, the carbohydrates within are broken down into glucose, which then enters the bloodstream. Your cells eagerly take in this glucose and use it to generate energy. Glycogen, stored in your liver and muscles, serves as a reserve, a quiet supply of energy that can be released when needed. This balance ensures that your brain, your heart, and your muscles always have the fuel they require. Lipids, or fats, have a different character. They are not easily dissolved in water, and this makes them ideal for forming membranes, the delicate boundaries of cells. Every cell in your body is wrapped in a thin lipid bilayer, a sheet only a few molecules thick, yet strong enough to protect, and flexible enough to allow communication with the outside. Lipids also serve as long-term energy storage, insulation against the cold, and cushions for delicate organs. A drop of oil or butter is a reminder of these molecules, smooth and concentrated, carrying energy in a compact form that the body can draw upon when needed. Finally, there are nucleic acids, DNA, and RNA. These molecules are built from long chains of nucleotides, which themselves are composed of sugar, phosphate, and nitrogen-containing bases. The sequence of these bases forms a code, a quiet script that holds the instructions for building every protein in your body. Within the nucleus of nearly every cell, DNA coils into chromosomes, carrying the blueprint of life. RNA, a close relative, takes pieces of that code and helps translate them into proteins, ensuring that the instructions of DNA are carried out. Together, DNA and RNA preserve continuity, ensuring that the information of life is passed from cell to cell and from generation to generation. It is striking to realize that all of these molecules, so different in shape and function, are built from the same atoms, arranged in different ways. The same carbon atom might one day be part of a sugar, another day part of a protein, and later part of a strand of DNA. Atoms move constantly through cycles, never belonging to one molecule forever, but shifting, rearranging, and recombining. The food you eat, the air you breathe, the water you drink, all of these provide atoms that become part of you. In time, those atoms will move on again, becoming part of other organisms, part of soil, part of air. The building blocks are not fixed to one life. They flow endlessly, linking us to the world around us. When seen in this way, the human body is not only an individual structure, but part of a larger continuum. The atoms within you may once have been part of an ancient tree, a cloud drifting across the sky, or even a star that burned billions of years ago. These same atoms now form your skin, your muscles, and your thoughts. And someday, they will take new forms again. There is something deeply calming in this cycle, a reminder that the building blocks of the body are timeless, that they carry forward quietly through endless transformations. As we continue, we will move upward from these atoms and molecules into the level of the cell, where the chemistry of life becomes organized into living structures. But it is worth pausing here, in the quiet realm of molecules, to recognize the elegance of their work. Every protein folding into its precise shape, every strand of DNA coiling with care, every droplet of water moving in and out of cells, all of it is guided by the simple properties of atoms. Small, unseen, and numerous, they are the first true foundation of the human body, and they never cease their work. 3. The chemistry of life. The human body, though made of flesh and bone, can also be thought of as a vast and ever-changing chemical laboratory. Within every cell, countless reactions are taking place at once, quiet exchanges of atoms and molecules that sustain the processes of life. These chemical interactions do not call for our attention. They do not ask us to guide them. Instead, they continue silently, weaving together the energy and structure that keep us alive. To understand the chemistry of life is to see that the body is more than an arrangement of organs. It is a flowing, dynamic system built from molecules that are constantly being reshaped, reused, and repurposed. At the heart of this chemistry are the four great families of biological molecules: proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, and nucleic acids. Each one is built from atoms, arranged in specific ways, and each one performs roles that are essential. They do not act in isolation. Rather, they interact continuously, with one group feeding into another, passing energy, information, and stability along invisible pathways. These molecules are the tools, the building blocks, and the messengers of life. Without them, the body could not move, grow, or even exist. Proteins are perhaps the most versatile of these molecules. They are long chains of smaller units called amino acids, linked together in sequences that fold into intricate shapes. The sequence of amino acids is determined by the instructions written in DNA, and the folding that follows gives each protein its unique character. Some proteins form the strong fibers of muscle, allowing contraction and movement. Others form enzymes, tiny catalysts that speed up chemical reactions, guiding them along the right pathways. Enzymes are extraordinary in their precision. A single enzyme may recognize only one specific molecule and guide it into transformation. For example, in your saliva, an enzyme called amylase begins breaking down starch into sugars, a process so gentle and natural that you hardly notice it as you chew. Without enzymes, the reactions of life would happen far too slowly to sustain us. With them, the chemistry of life becomes possible in every fraction of a second. Carbohydrates, meanwhile, are the body's most direct source of energy. Built from carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, they include simple sugars like glucose and fructose, as well as complex chains like starch and glycogen. When you taste something sweet, it is glucose that your cells are eager to receive. Once absorbed into the bloodstream, glucose is carried to tissues where it can be broken down through cellular respiration, releasing energy stored in its bonds. This energy is packaged in molecules of ATP adenosine triphosphate, which serve as the currency of the cell. Each movement of a muscle, each firing of a neuron, depends on this energy. The body is careful with its supply. Excess glucose can be stored as glycogen in the liver and muscles, held in reserve for times when food is scarce, or when energy demands rise suddenly. The balance between storing and releasing energy is a quiet dance, guided by hormones and enzymes, ensuring that the chemistry of life continues smoothly. Lipids, often thought of simply as fats, are more subtle than their reputation suggests. They do serve as energy reserves, storing concentrated fuel that can sustain the body for long periods. Yet they also form the very boundaries of life itself. Every cell is enclosed by a membrane made of lipids arranged in a bilayer. This thin, flexible sheet separates the inside of the cell from the outside world, maintaining the delicate environment within. At the same time, it allows communication and exchange, admitting some molecules while keeping others out. Lipids also insulate the body, cushioning organs and protecting against extremes of temperature. Certain lipids, such as cholesterol, act as building materials for hormones, the chemical signals that travel through the bloodstream to regulate growth, metabolism, and mood. In these ways, lipids are more than mere energy stores. They are the silent guardians of the cell, the architects of boundaries, and the messengers of balance. Nucleic acids form the fourth great group, and they carry the instructions for all the others. DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, is composed of long chains of nucleotides arranged in a double helix. This molecule contains the code for building every protein in the body, written in the sequence of its bases: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. The arrangement of these bases is like a script, one that cells read in order to construct proteins with precision. RNA, ribonucleic acid, assists in this process, carrying instructions from DNA and helping assemble proteins from amino acids. Together, DNA and RNA ensure continuity, passing information from one generation of cells to the next, and from parent to child. They are the memory of the body, the record of its design, and the blueprint for all its functions. What unites all these molecules is energy. Life depends on a steady flow of energy, and chemistry is the way that energy is captured, transformed, and released. When you eat, molecules of carbohydrate, fat, and protein are broken down into smaller parts. These parts are guided into metabolic pathways, where their bonds are reshaped and their energy is extracted. This energy is stored briefly in ATP, then spent in countless ways powering a muscle contraction, driving the repair of a membrane, fueling the synthesis of a new molecule. Even in sleep, this chemistry does not stop. It hums quietly in every cell, ensuring that tissues are repaired, memories are consolidated, and balance is maintained. Another layer of the chemistry of life is regulation. Reactions must occur at the right time and in the right place, neither too fast nor too slow. Hormones, enzymes, and feedback loops provide this regulation. When blood sugar rises after a meal, the pancreas releases insulin, encouraging cells to take in glucose and store it. When sugar levels fall, glucagon is released, prompting the liver to release glucose back into the bloodstream. These signals are part of a web of checks and balances that keeps the body steady. Without them, chemistry would run unchecked, leading to imbalance and disorder. With them, the body maintains homeostasis, a quiet equilibrium that supports life even in changing conditions. Water, though simple, also plays a central role. It dissolves ions and molecules, allowing them to move freely and interact. Its polarity helps stabilize structures like proteins and membranes. Its ability to absorb heat without large changes in temperature helps regulate the body's warmth. Every reaction, every exchange, occurs in this watery medium. Without water, chemistry would halt, and life would not endure. It is a reminder that even the simplest molecule can be essential, that the chemistry of life is not only complex but also grounded in simplicity. The chemistry of life also reveals continuity with the natural world. The same elements and reactions that sustain us are found in other living things. Plants use sunlight to power photosynthesis, creating glucose from carbon dioxide and water. Animals consume plants or other animals, taking in this stored energy and using it for movement and growth. The cycle continues endlessly, atoms and molecules shifting from one form to another, yet always participating in the greater chemistry of life. In this way, each breath and each bite connect us to the larger web of existence, to the soil, the sea, and the sky. As you reflect on this chemistry, it is soothing to remember that none of it requires your effort. You do not need to instruct enzymes to act, or remind DNA to replicate, or guide glucose into a cell. These processes unfold naturally, continuously, and faithfully. The chemistry of life is a quiet current flowing through you, unbroken from the earliest moments of life on Earth to the present moment as you rest. It is a chemistry older than humanity, older even than the planet itself, shaped by the properties of atoms and the rules of nature. In seeing the body as a vast, living chemistry, you can appreciate both its complexity and its simplicity. complexity in the endless interactions of molecules, and simplicity in the principles that guide them. Together, they form the foundation of life, sustaining you in ways so subtle and dependable that you may drift into rest without concern. The chemistry of life carries on, moment by moment, unseen but unwavering, ensuring that the building blocks of your body remain connected, alive, and whole. 4. The cell, the fundamental unit. The story of life narrows from the grand scale of organs and tissues down to the most fundamental living structure, the cell. When scientists first looked through early microscopes in the 17th century, they saw what appeared to be tiny chambers, small compartments that reminded them of the plain rooms in a monastery. They named them cells, and the word has remained ever since. What they could not have known at the time was that these chambers were not empty. They were bustling with activity, filled with countless molecules moving in coordinated patterns, each cell carrying within it the essential qualities of life. Every human body, no matter how small or large, begins with just a single cell, a fertilized egg that divides and multiplies until it becomes the trillions of cells that make up the mature organism. This is why the cell is often called the fundamental unit of life. It is the smallest structure capable of carrying out all the processes we associate with being alive. A cell is far from simple. Though microscopic, it is as intricate as a tiny city, with borders, energy systems, communication networks, and specialized structures, all working together. At the boundary of this city lies the cell membrane, a delicate double layer of lipids that separates the inside from the outside. This membrane is not a wall that simply encloses. It is a gatekeeper, flexible and selective. Some molecules pass through easily, such as water, while others require special transport systems. The membrane ensures that nutrients can enter, wastes can leave, and signals from the environment can be received. Without this boundary, the cell would lose its identity, and life would dissolve back into scattered molecules. Inside the cell, the fluid interior, called the cytoplasm, holds the organelles, the specialized structures that carry out the cell's work. Each organelle has its own role, much like buildings within a city. The nucleus is the most prominent, often found near the center. It houses the DNA, the long strands of genetic material that serve as the instructions for life. The DNA coils into chromosomes, storing the information needed to build proteins and guide the cell's activities. Surrounding the nucleus is a double membrane punctuated by tiny pores, allowing RNA and other molecules to pass in and out. The nucleus is like a library, holding the reference material for every possible task the cell may undertake. Beyond the nucleus lies the endoplasmic reticulum, a network of folded membranes. Part of it, known as the rough endoplasmic reticulum, is studded with ribosomes, small structures that read the instructions carried by RNA and assemble proteins from amino acids. These ribosomes are the factories of the cell, producing the proteins that will form enzymes, structural fibers, or signals to be sent elsewhere. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum, by contrast, lacks ribosomes and is involved in synthesizing lipids, detoxifying chemicals, and storing important ions. Once proteins are made, they often travel to the Golgi apparatus, another organelle that acts as a sorting and packaging center. Here, proteins are modified, folded, and tagged for delivery. Some will remain inside the cell, others will be sent to the membrane, or even secreted into the surrounding environment. This distribution ensures that proteins reach the places where they are most needed. Energy, the lifeblood of the cell, is produced in the mitochondria. These organelles are sometimes called the powerhouses of the cell, for within their double membranes, glucose and oxygen are processed into molecules of ATP, the universal energy currency. Each cell may contain hundreds or even thousands of mitochondria, depending on its energy needs. Muscle cells, which require constant power, are especially rich in them. Interestingly, mitochondria contain their own small circles of DNA, a reminder of their ancient origin. Scientists believe they were once free-living bacteria that entered into a cooperative relationship with early cells, a partnership so successful that it became permanent. This symbiosis continues within every human cell today, a silent reminder of the deep history written into our very structure. Other organelles contribute to the cell's housekeeping. Lysosomes contain digestive enzymes that break down unwanted material, recycling molecules for reuse. Peroxisomes handle the detoxification of harmful substances and play roles in fat metabolism. The cytoskeleton, an internal framework of protein filaments, gives the cell its shape, allows it to move, and provides tracks along which organelles and molecules can travel. Even though a cell has no bones or muscles in the human sense, this internal scaffolding and system of fibers allows it to maintain form and function with elegance. Not all cells are the same. Some, like red blood cells, lack a nucleus entirely, giving them more room to carry oxygen. Others, like neurons, stretch out into long, branching shapes, enabling communication across great distances. Muscle cells are elongated and filled with fibers that can contract. Epithelial cells, which line surfaces, form tight sheets that protect and absorb. Though different in appearance and function, all these cells share common features: a membrane, cytoplasm, and the machinery of life. Their diversity arises from the way they read and use the information encoded in DNA. Each cell carries the entire genetic script of the human body, yet only certain parts are activated in each type, giving rise to specialized roles. The life of a cell is a cycle of growth, function, and division. Cells take in nutrients, convert them into energy, perform their tasks, and eventually reproduce. By dividing, through mitosis, a cell duplicates its DNA and then splits into two identical daughter cells. This process ensures growth, repair, and replacement. Without it, healing would be impossible, and development could not occur. In some cases, such as in the reproductive system, a different type of division called meiosis produces gametes, sperm and eggs, with half the usual number of chromosomes, ensuring that when they combine, the resulting cell has the full set. These cycles are tightly regulated, for balance is essential. Too little division, and tissues cannot repair themselves. Too much, and uncontrolled growth can arise. The harmony of cell life reflects the broader harmony of the body as a whole. To think of the cell is to realize that life is built from repetition and cooperation. A single cell, on its own, can survive for a time, but in the human body, it is the collaboration of trillions that creates the unified experience of life. Each skin cell contributes to a protective barrier. Each muscle cell contracts to produce movement. Each neuron passes a signal that becomes part of a thought. Alone, their efforts would be small. Together, they form the human being. Cells also remind us of our connection to the wider living world. The basic design of the cell is shared across all organisms, from the simplest bacteria to the most complex animals. Though details vary, the presence of membranes, genetic material, and metabolic processes reveals a common heritage. This unity suggests that life on Earth, in all its variety, stems from shared beginnings, with the cell as the common thread. Every living thing is a collection of cells, and in this sense, all life is kin. As you reflect on this, it is soothing to think of your own cells continuing their work as you rest. They do not tire in the same way that you do. They do not pause when you close your eyes. They go on dividing, repairing, producing, and communicating, all in silence. Within you, there are more cells than stars visible in the night sky, and each one is alive, playing its small but vital part in the whole. The body is not a static sculpture but a community of living units, endlessly active, endlessly renewing. To recognize the cell as the fundamental unit of life is to see the foundation upon which all else rests. It is to realize that the beating of the heart, the rhythm of the lungs, the thoughts of the mind, are all rooted in the unseen activity of these tiny structures. The cell is where chemistry becomes life, where molecules organize into patterns that persist and reproduce. It is the place where the building blocks gather, forming the first structures that can be called truly alive. And as you rest, these cells continue their quiet work, sustaining you, carrying forward the story of life that began so long ago and continues, gently, within you. 5. Organelles within the cell. When we look more closely into the quiet world of the cell, we find that it is not an empty space, but a carefully organized interior filled with structures known as organelles. The word itself means little organs, and this name is fitting, for each organelle performs specific tasks within the cell, much like organs within the human body. Just as the heart pumps blood and the lungs draw in air, the organelles work tirelessly to produce energy, build molecules, process information, and maintain balance. Though invisible to the naked eye, these structures are the machinery of life, and without them, the cell could not exist. To picture them, imagine a small, enclosed city, with each building devoted to a unique function, connected by pathways that allow movement and communication. Together, these organelles ensure the cell's survival, while also supporting the larger community of tissues and organs of which the cell is a part. At the center of many cells lies the nucleus, the most prominent organelle, and often described as the control center. Surrounded by a protective double membrane, the nucleus houses the DNA, the genetic blueprint that instructs the cell on how to grow, divide, and function. This DNA is not a random collection of molecules, but an orderly script written in the language of nucleotides. Within the nucleus, DNA is wrapped around proteins and organized into chromosomes, structures that can be carefully duplicated when the cell divides. Surrounding the DNA is the nucleoplasm, a gel-like substance where other important processes take place. Inside the nucleus, there is also a smaller, dense structure called the nucleolus, whose main role is to assemble ribosomes, the tiny machines that will later build proteins. The nucleus is not an isolated fortress. It communicates constantly with the rest of the cell through pores in its membrane, allowing RNA and proteins to pass in and out. In this way, the nucleus provides instructions while also receiving feedback, ensuring harmony between the cell's information and its activity. Beyond the nucleus spreads a network of folded membranes known as the endoplasmic reticulum. It stretches like a maze through the cytoplasm, with two distinct regions. The rough endoplasmic reticulum, so called because it is studded with ribosomes, is a site of protein synthesis. Ribosomes read the messages carried by RNA and string together amino acids to form proteins, which then fold into their working shapes. Some of these proteins are destined to remain inside the cell, while others will be shipped out to other parts of the body. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum, by contrast, lacks ribosomes and is devoted to different tasks. It helps produce lipids, processes toxins, and stores calcium ions needed for signaling. These two forms of endoplasmic reticulum show the versatility of cellular structures, each contributing in a specialized way to the whole. After proteins are made, they are often sent to another organelle, the Golgi apparatus. This structure resembles a stack of flattened sacks, each one modifying, packaging, and sorting the proteins it receives. Proteins may be tagged with molecular signals that tell them where to go, whether to the cell membrane, to a lysosome, or to be secreted outside the cell. The Golgi is like a post office, ensuring that every package is addressed correctly and delivered on time. Without its careful work, proteins would be misplaced, and the cell's efficiency would collapse. The generation of energy, however, falls largely to the mitochondria. These double-membraned organelles are the powerhouses of the cell, converting glucose and oxygen into molecules of ATP, the universal energy currency. Within their inner folds, called cristae, a series of chemical reactions known as the electron transport chain produces a steady flow of energy. Each molecule of ATP provides fuel for countless processes, from muscle contraction to nerve signaling. Mitochondria are unique among organelles because they contain their own DNA and can replicate independently. This is a reminder of their evolutionary history, when they were once free-living organisms that formed a partnership with early cells. Over time, this partnership became inseparable, and now mitochondria are essential parts of every complex cell. For digestion and recycling, cells rely on lysosomes. These small, membrane-bound sacs contain enzymes that break down waste material, damaged organelles, or invading particles. When a lysosome fuses with a vesicle containing unwanted material, its enzymes go to work, reducing the contents to simpler molecules that can be reused. This process ensures that nothing is wasted and that harmful substances are removed before they can cause damage. In a similar way, peroxisomes assist by breaking down fatty acids and neutralizing toxins such as hydrogen peroxide, protecting the cell from harm. These organelles demonstrate that cells, like entire organisms, must constantly balance creation with destruction, building new structures while dismantling the old. Supporting all of these activities is the cytoskeleton, a dynamic framework made of protein filaments. It is not a rigid skeleton, but a flexible and constantly changing network that provides shape, strength, and movement. Microfilaments, microtubules, and intermediate filaments work together to hold organelles in place, guide vesicles along pathways, and even separate chromosomes during cell division. In some cells, extensions of the cytoskeleton form cilia or flagella, hair-like structures that move fluid or propel the cell itself. The cytoskeleton shows that even within a microscopic cell, structure and movement depend on hidden scaffolding, as essential there as bones and muscles are to the human body. Ribosomes, though small, are also vital. They are not bound by membranes and can be found floating freely in the cytoplasm or attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Their role is simple but indispensable: to assemble proteins from amino acids, following the instructions carried by RNA. A single cell may contain thousands of ribosomes, all working at once, producing the proteins that will serve as enzymes, receptors, and structural elements. Though they lack the complexity of other organelles, their activity is at the heart of cellular function. The cell membrane itself, though already mentioned, can be thought of as an organelle in its own right. Composed of a double layer of phospholipids with proteins embedded throughout, it defines the cell's boundary and regulates exchange. Some proteins act as channels, allowing specific ions or molecules to enter or leave. Others act as receptors, receiving signals from the outside environment and triggering responses within. Still others anchor the cell to its neighbors or to the extracellular matrix. The membrane is not static but fluid, with components shifting and rearranging as needed. It is both a barrier and a bridge, protecting the cell while enabling communication. Even with all these specialized parts, a cell is more than the sum of its organelles. What makes it remarkable is the coordination between them. The nucleus sends instructions, ribosomes build proteins, the endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi refine and deliver them. Mitochondria power the processes, lysosomes recycle the waste, and the cytoskeleton maintains shape and motion. Each organelle depends on the others, and none could sustain life alone. It is their cooperation that creates the living whole. Reflecting on this, it becomes clear that every moment of human life is underpinned by the quiet work of these tiny structures. As you breathe, mitochondria in your cells are converting oxygen into energy. As you digest food, ribosomes are assembling enzymes that break down nutrients. As you rest, lysosomes are recycling worn-out components, ensuring renewal. All of this occurs silently, invisibly, and without pause. The organelles do not seek recognition. They perform their roles faithfully, contributing to the greater life of the cell, and through the cell, to the life of the body. To imagine them at work is to picture a city that never sleeps, with factories, power stations, recycling centers, and highways, all coordinated by an unseen rhythm. Yet unlike a city of stone and steel, this city is soft, fluid, and constantly renewing itself. The organelles are not permanent structures but dynamic participants, forming, dissolving, and rebuilding as needed. They remind us that life is not a fixed state but a continual process of change and adaptation. As you drift into rest, it is reassuring to know that your cells continue their work. Within each one, organelles are moving, communicating, and sustaining life, ensuring that tissues remain strong, that energy flows, and that balance is maintained. They are the silent guardians of existence, unseen yet essential, and their ceaseless cooperation forms the true foundation of the human body. 6. Tissues, cells in harmony. When we step up from the level of the single cell, we begin to see how life is built through cooperation. A single cell, though remarkable in its structure, can only accomplish so much on its own. To create the complexity of a human being, cells must join together, forming larger units that work in concert. These larger units are called tissues, and they represent the next level of organization in the human body. A tissue is not just a random collection of cells, but a carefully arranged community, where cells of similar type and function are bound together by a shared purpose. Through tissues, cells gain strength in numbers, combining their individual efforts into a collective whole. It is through tissues that the human body achieves form, structure, and coordinated function. There are 4 fundamental types of tissues in the human body: epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous. Each type has its own characteristics, yet all are bound by the same principle that cells working together can achieve what single cells cannot. These tissues are the threads from which the body is woven, and every organ, every system, depends upon their harmony. Epithelial tissue is the first we encounter, for it covers and lines the surfaces of the body. Your skin is the most familiar example, a protective sheet of cells shielding you from the outside world. But epithelial tissue also lines the inside of the mouth, the lungs, the digestive tract, and the blood vessels. Wherever there is a surface that meets either the external environment or the inner passageways of the body, epithelial cells are present. These cells are tightly packed, with little space between them, forming barriers that prevent harmful substances from entering, and that regulate what passes through. Some epithelial tissues absorb nutrients, as in the lining of the intestines. Others secrete substances, such as mucus in the respiratory tract or enzymes in the stomach. Still others are specialized for sensation, such as the delicate tissue of the tongue and the nose. Despite these differences, all epithelial tissues share the same essential role. They create boundaries and interfaces, defining spaces and regulating exchange. Beneath the surfaces lies connective tissue, the most abundant and diverse of the four types. As its name suggests, connective tissue binds, supports, and connects the structures of the body. It includes bone, cartilage, fat, tendons, ligaments, and even blood. Though these seem very different in appearance and texture, they all share a common feature. They are composed not only of cells but also of an extensive extracellular matrix, a framework of fibers and ground substance that provides strength and flexibility. Bone, for example, is connective tissue hardened by minerals, giving structure to the skeleton. Cartilage is softer and more elastic, cushioning joints and shaping structures such as the nose and ears. Fat, or adipose tissue, stores energy and provides insulation. Blood, surprisingly, is also considered a connective tissue because its cells are suspended in plasma, a fluid matrix that allows transport throughout the body. Connective tissue shows us that life is not just about cells themselves, but about the environments they create and the scaffolding they provide for one another. Where movement is required, we find muscle tissue. This tissue is specialized for contraction, the shortening of fibers that produces force and motion. There are three kinds of muscle tissue: skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. Skeletal muscle attaches to bones and allows voluntary movement, such as walking, lifting, or writing. Its fibers are long, cylindrical, and striated, meaning they show visible bands under a microscope. Cardiac muscle, found only in the heart, is also striated, but its fibers are branched and connected in ways that allow coordinated contractions. This tissue contracts without conscious effort, pumping blood tirelessly through the body. Smooth muscle, found in the walls of hollow organs like the intestines, bladder, and blood vessels, lacks striations and contracts more slowly. It moves food along the digestive tract, controls blood flow, and adjusts the size of airways. Muscle tissue demonstrates the power of cellular cooperation, as countless fibers contract together to produce movement and rhythm. The final type of tissue is nervous tissue, the communication network of the body. Composed of neurons and supporting glial cells, nervous tissue transmits signals rapidly across long distances. Neurons are specialized cells with long extensions called axons and dendrites, which allow them to send and receive electrical impulses. These impulses carry information, whether it is the sensation of touch, the command to move a muscle, or the thought forming in the mind. Glial cells support, protect, and nourish neurons, ensuring their function. Nervous tissue is found in the brain, spinal cord, and nerves that extend throughout the body. It is through this tissue that the body achieves awareness, coordination, and response. Nervous tissue binds the body together, not physically, like connective tissue, but functionally, allowing every part to act in harmony. Though we can describe these tissues separately, in the body they are never isolated. They work together, weaving into one another to create organs and systems. Consider the stomach as an example. Its inner lining is made of epithelial tissue, secreting digestive juices and absorbing nutrients. Its walls contain layers of smooth muscle tissue, contracting rhythmically to churn food. Connective tissue binds and supports these layers, while nervous tissue coordinates the contractions and regulates secretion. In this way, all four tissue types collaborate, each contributing its unique properties, yet none sufficient on its own. This pattern repeats throughout the body, from the heart to the lungs to the skin. Tissues are not solitary. They are parts of a greater unity. Another way to appreciate tissues is to see them as communities of cells bound by shared tasks. Within epithelial tissue, cells are joined by junctions that allow them to act as a sheet, rather than as individuals. Within connective tissue, cells are spaced apart but bound by the matrix they secrete, cooperating across distance. Within muscle tissue, fibers align so that their contractions add together, producing coordinated motion. Within nervous tissue, neurons connect in networks, each signal passing along chains of cells until the message reaches its destination. This communal nature of tissues reflects a principle that extends throughout biology. Cooperation at one level creates new capabilities at the next. The harmony of tissues also reminds us of the balance required for health. When tissues function properly, the body thrives. But when tissues are damaged or fail, the effects can ripple outward. Skin that loses its epithelial barrier becomes vulnerable to infection. Connective tissue weakened by injury may no longer support joints. Muscle tissue deprived of energy may falter, and nervous tissue disrupted by disease may lose coordination. Yet tissues also show resilience, with the ability to repair and adapt. Skin can heal from wounds, bones can mend after fractures, and muscles can grow stronger with use. This resilience reflects the ongoing work of cells, continually dividing, renewing, and reorganizing to preserve harmony. It is calming to reflect on the silent constancy of these tissues. Even now, as you rest, your epithelial tissues are protecting you. Your connective tissues are holding you together. Your muscle tissues are maintaining tone, and your nervous tissues are carrying signals without pause. You need not guide them. They act on their own, each fulfilling its role as part of the greater whole. The harmony of tissues sustains the body, allowing you to live, to move, and to think. To see the body through the lens of tissues is to recognize that life is not merely a collection of parts, but a carefully woven fabric. Each thread is essential, and together they form patterns of strength, flexibility, movement, and awareness. The body is a tapestry of tissues, and within this tapestry lies the quiet rhythm of existence. As you breathe softly, those tissues continue their work, unbroken, unhurried, and unceasing. They are the harmony beneath life, the silent cooperation that gives rise to the human form. 7. Organs, structures with purpose. As we move gently upward through the levels of organization within the human body, we arrive at the stage where tissues gather into larger, more complex structures known as organs. An organ is more than just a mass of cells and tissues. It is a structure with a distinct shape, a specific role, and a contribution to the larger symphony of the body. Each organ is made of at least 2 types of tissue, though most contain all 4, working in harmony to perform specialized tasks. These organs are the recognizable parts of our anatomy: the heart, the lungs, the liver, the stomach, the kidneys, and many more. Each one is a marvel in itself, designed not through conscious planning but through the gradual shaping of evolution, refined over countless generations until their roles became perfectly tuned to the needs of life. When you think of an organ, it is easy to imagine it in isolation, perhaps pictured in a textbook or described in a diagram. But within the living body, no organ functions alone. Each is part of a system, and each system interlaces with the others to sustain the whole. The heart does not beat without the oxygen delivered by the lungs, and the lungs cannot exchange gases without the circulation driven by the heart. The stomach cannot digest food without the enzymes produced by the pancreas or the bile secreted by the liver. The brain cannot send commands without the energy supplied by glucose, carried in the blood and regulated by multiple other organs. This interconnectedness is what makes the organs so remarkable. They have distinct purposes, yet their true meaning lies in how they serve the organism together. The heart, perhaps the most poetic of organs, is more than a symbol of emotion. It is a muscular pump, tirelessly contracting to send blood through the network of vessels that extend to every part of the body. Within its four chambers, blood flows in a carefully directed pattern, oxygen-poor blood returning from the body, being sent to the lungs for oxygenation, and then flowing back out to deliver life-giving oxygen and nutrients. The tissues of the heart muscle for contraction, connective tissue for structure, nervous tissue for coordination, and epithelial tissue lining the chambers work seamlessly to maintain this rhythm. As you rest, your heart continues its work, beating steadily, adapting its pace to the body's needs, never faltering. The lungs, in turn, open themselves to the air, drawing in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. Within their branching passages lie millions of tiny air sacs called alveoli, where the exchange of gases takes place. Each alveolus is lined by delicate epithelial tissue, supported by a web of connective tissue, and supplied by tiny blood vessels. As you inhale, oxygen molecules diffuse across this thin barrier into the blood, while carbon dioxide passes out to be exhaled. The lungs are not alone in this task. They are shaped by the movement of muscles, from the diaphragm to the intercostal muscles between the ribs, which expand and contract the chest cavity. In this way, organs do not simply exist in isolation, but rely on cooperation with muscles, nerves, and connective structures. The liver is another organ of profound importance, though it often works in quiet obscurity. It is the largest internal organ, and its responsibilities are many. It processes nutrients absorbed from the digestive tract, detoxifies harmful substances, produces bile to aid in the digestion of fats, and stores energy in the form of glycogen. Within its structure, countless lobules, each a small hexagonal unit, filter blood and manage its contents. The liver reminds us that an organ is not a single-purpose tool but a hub of interconnected functions, each vital to maintaining balance. The kidneys, twin organs shaped like beans, filter the blood, removing wastes while conserving water and essential molecules. Each kidney contains millions of nephrons, tiny filtering units that regulate the composition of blood with extraordinary precision. The kidneys balance salts, maintain pH, and regulate blood pressure through subtle chemical signals. Their function is quiet yet indispensable, a constant cleansing and fine-tuning that keeps the body in equilibrium. The stomach and intestines, meanwhile, carry out the work of digestion and absorption. The stomach churns food, mixing it with acid and enzymes to break it into smaller parts. Its muscular walls contract rhythmically, while its lining secretes the substances needed for digestion. From the stomach, food passes into the small intestine, a long, folded tube lined with millions of tiny finger-like villi, which increase the surface area for absorption. Through these villi, nutrients pass into the blood to be carried throughout the body. The large intestine absorbs water and compacts waste, completing the process. Here again we see that organs are not solitary. They form a continuous passage, each section adapted for a specific stage, yet all linked in purpose. The brain, perhaps the most complex organ of all, coordinates and integrates the activities of the others. Composed of billions of neurons connected by trillions of synapses, it receives information from the senses, processes it, and sends commands outward. The brain does not beat like the heart or filter like the kidneys, but its role is no less physical. Its tissues generate electrical impulses, its neurons release chemical messengers, and its glial cells provide support. Within the folds of the cortex and the depths of the brainstem, the organ of thought and awareness is built from the same building blocks as all others: cells, molecules, and tissues woven together into form. Other organs, though less celebrated, are equally vital. The skin, the largest organ of the body, forms a barrier against the external world, while regulating temperature and producing vitamin D. The spleen filters blood and supports the immune system. The pancreas produces enzymes for digestion and hormones for glucose regulation. The reproductive organs ensure the continuity of life, passing on the genetic instructions encoded in DNA. Each of these organs has a role to play, and none can be considered unnecessary, for the loss or failure of an organ disrupts the delicate balance of the whole. What is most striking about organs is not only their structure, but their purpose. They are not random shapes, but designs honed for function. The heart is shaped for pumping, the lungs for exchange, the kidneys for filtering, the brain for integration. Their forms are not arbitrary, but expressions of their tasks. A principle seen again and again in biology. Structure follows function. This harmony of form and purpose is what allows the body to function as a living whole. It is soothing to think of the organs at work as you rest. The heart continues to beat, the lungs continue to breathe, the liver continues to filter, the kidneys continue to cleanse. These tasks do not depend on your conscious thought. They are automatic, guided by the quiet wisdom of the body itself. You can surrender to rest, knowing that the organs are faithful in their duties, each fulfilling its purpose, each contributing to the larger whole. To consider organs is to recognize the beauty of specialization and cooperation. Each organ has its own role, but none exists in isolation. Their purposes are intertwined, their rhythms coordinated, their contributions woven into the fabric of life. Together, they create the unity of the body, sustaining it, adapting it, and carrying it forward through time. The organs are the structures with purpose, the instruments of the body's symphony, each playing its part in the ongoing music of life. 8. Organ systems, the body's networks. As we move from the individual organs of the human body, we begin to see how they are not meant to stand alone, but are instead woven together into larger cooperative groups known as organ systems. An organ, for all its beauty and intricacy, cannot sustain life in isolation. The heart cannot beat without oxygen from the lungs. The stomach cannot digest without enzymes from the pancreas. And the brain cannot function without nutrients carried by the blood. Each organ is like a single instrument, finely tuned, but it is only when many instruments come together that we hear the symphony. Organ systems are these symphonies, networks of organs united by shared functions, sustaining the flow of life from moment to moment. There are 11 major systems recognized in the human body: the circulatory, respiratory, digestive, nervous, muscular, skeletal, endocrine, urinary, immune, and reproductive systems. Each one consists of multiple organs working together in harmony. Though we may separate them for study, in truth, they overlap and interconnect, creating a seamless web. To reflect upon them is to see how the human body is not merely a collection of parts, but a living network, alive with rhythm, cooperation, and balance. The circulatory system, for example, is a network of the heart, blood vessels, and blood itself. The heart pumps tirelessly, sending oxygen-rich blood through arteries to tissues, and drawing it back through veins for renewal. Capillaries, so small that red blood cells pass through in single file, deliver nutrients and remove wastes at the cellular level. The circulatory system does not act in isolation. It is linked intimately with the respiratory system, which supplies oxygen and removes carbon dioxide, and with the digestive system, which provides nutrients to be transported. This system is the river of life, flowing constantly, ensuring that every cell receives what it needs, and that balance is maintained throughout the body. The respiratory system, in turn, provides the essential exchange of gases. Through the nose and mouth, air travels into the trachea, down into the branching bronchi, and finally into the lungs, where millions of alveoli open like tiny balloons. Each alveolus is a site of contact with blood, a delicate place where oxygen moves inward and carbon dioxide outward. Breathing is not simply the act of drawing in air, it is a continuous cycle, linked to every beat of the heart and every motion of the muscles. Without oxygen, the chemical reactions of life cannot proceed. Without exhaling carbon dioxide, balance is lost. The respiratory system keeps the chemistry of life flowing gently and reliably. The digestive system is another great network, beginning at the mouth and continuing through the esophagus, stomach, intestines, liver, pancreas. It transforms food into molecules that can be absorbed and used by the body. Chewing and saliva begin the process, breaking food into smaller pieces and starting the breakdown of starches. The stomach churns and secretes acid, turning food into a liquid mixture. The small intestine absorbs nutrients, assisted by bile from the liver and enzymes from the pancreas. The large intestine reclaims water and prepares waste for elimination. At every stage, organs contribute their part, ensuring that energy and materials are supplied for every cell's needs. This system connects the outside world to the inside, transforming what we eat into the building blocks of life. The nervous system stands as the network of communication. The brain, spinal cord, and nerves form an electrical web that spans the entire body. Signals move rapidly along neurons, carrying sensations from the skin, sounds from the ears, and images from the eyes. The brain processes these signals, making sense of them, and then sends out instructions. Muscles contract, glands secrete, organs adjust their activity. The nervous system is remarkable not only for its speed but for its integration. It links all the other systems, ensuring coordination, awareness, and response. Even in sleep, the nervous system continues, regulating breathing, monitoring the environment, and weaving dreams from memory and imagination. The muscular system provides the body with movement and strength. Skeletal muscles attach to bones, allowing voluntary motions such as walking, lifting, and speaking. Smooth muscles in the digestive tract, blood vessels, and bladder operate without conscious control, moving food, regulating pressure, and managing flow. Cardiac muscle, unique to the heart, contracts rhythmically and tirelessly, sustaining life. This system demonstrates the power of cellular cooperation, as countless fibers contract in harmony, producing movement that allows the body to interact with the world. Closely connected is the skeletal system, the framework that gives the body shape, protection, and support. Bones provide structure, protect delicate organs such as the brain and lungs, and serve as levers for muscles. Within bones lies marrow, where blood cells are formed, linking the skeletal system to the circulatory and immune systems. Joints, ligaments, and cartilage allow flexibility, ensuring that the body is not rigid but adaptable. The skeleton is not merely scaffolding, it is living tissue, constantly remodeling itself, responding to stresses, and storing essential minerals such as calcium. The endocrine system adds another layer, acting as the body's chemical messenger network. Glands such as the pituitary, thyroid, adrenal glands, and pancreas release hormones into the bloodstream. These hormones travel widely, influencing growth, metabolism, reproduction, and mood. Unlike the rapid signals of the nervous system, hormonal messages are slower but longer lasting, shaping the body's development over time and maintaining balance in subtle ways. This system reminds us that communication in the body takes many forms, some fast and fleeting, others gradual and enduring. The urinary system, also known as the excretory system, ensures that waste is removed and fluid balance is maintained. The kidneys filter blood, conserving water and valuable molecules while excreting excess salts and waste products. The ureters carry urine to the bladder, where it is stored until release. This system not only prevents the buildup of harmful substances, but also plays a role in regulating blood pressure and chemical balance. It is a quiet guardian, cleansing and stabilizing without drawing attention. The immune system, though less visible, protects the body from harm. It includes white blood cells, lymph nodes, the spleen, and countless chemical messengers. When pathogens enter, immune cells recognize and respond, neutralizing invaders while remembering them for the future. This system is both defensive and adaptive, ensuring survival against a changing environment of microbes. Though it often works silently, when needed, it acts with precision and strength, restoring balance to the body. The integumentary system, composed of the skin, hair, and nails, provides the outer barrier. The skin is the body's largest organ, shielding against injury, regulating temperature, and preventing water loss. It also contains sensory receptors that connect the body to the world, detecting touch, heat, and pain. Hair provides insulation and protection, while nails support and defend the tips of fingers and toes. This system is our first interface with the environment, both protective and expressive. Finally, the reproductive system ensures the continuity of life. Male and female reproductive organs produce gametes, sperm, and eggs that combine to form new life. Beyond this, the system also plays roles in hormonal regulation, and in females, in nurturing and sustaining a developing child. Though reproduction is not necessary for the survival of the individual, it is essential for the survival of the species, and so the reproductive system carries a special place in the design of the body. Though described separately, these systems do not act alone. The circulatory system delivers hormones of the endocrine system, carries immune cells to sites of infection, and supplies oxygen from the respiratory system to muscles of the skeletal and muscular systems. The nervous system oversees them all, while the integumentary system protects them from outside harm. Each network flows into the next, and together they create the unity of life. It is calming to reflect that even now, as you rest, every one of these systems is at work. Your circulatory system flows, your respiratory system breathes, your digestive system continues its work, and your nervous system keeps watch. The cooperation of these networks sustains you without need for thought or effort. They are the body's quiet symphonies, each playing its part, blending seamlessly into the whole. To see the body as a collection of organ systems is to see the beauty of interconnectedness. It is to realize that no system is complete alone, but together they form the living networks that define human existence. Each network is a pathway, a flow of energy and matter, and when woven together, they create the seamless fabric of life. As you drift into rest, these systems continue their ceaseless work, supporting you with quiet devotion, reminding you that the body is a harmony of networks, unbroken and complete. 9. The nervous system. Among all the systems of the body, there is perhaps none as intricate or as quietly powerful as the nervous system. It is the network that allows sensation, thought, memory, and movement, weaving together the experiences of life. While the heart pumps blood and the lungs exchange air, the nervous system listens, interprets, and responds, creating awareness and guiding action. It is through this system that the body perceives the world, and it is through this system that the world is brought into the mind. Every sound you hear, every sight you see, every gentle touch upon your skin is carried inward along this network, transformed into signals that the brain interprets. At the same time, The nervous system sends signals outward, instructing muscles to contract, glands to secrete, and organs to adjust their activity. It is a dialogue that never ends, a stream of communication flowing constantly between body and mind, between self and environment. The foundation of this system lies in the neuron, the specialized cell designed to carry electrical signals. A neuron has a body, extensions called dendrites to receive messages, and a long fiber called an axon to send them onward. When a neuron is stimulated, it generates an electrical impulse that travels down the axon, sometimes over great distances, before reaching the end. There, chemical messengers called neurotransmitters are released, bridging the gap to the next neuron. In this way, signals leap from cell to cell, forming pathways that span the body. Each neuron is a single voice, but together, billions of them create a chorus of signals, transmitting thoughts, sensations, and commands. The nervous system is divided into two broad parts: the central nervous system, composed of the brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, which includes all the nerves extending outward to the rest of the body. The central system is the control center, interpreting information and making decisions. The peripheral system carries information in and out, connecting every tissue and organ to the brain and spinal cord. This division is not rigid but complementary. Just as a city relies on both its center and its roads, the body relies on the cooperation of these two halves to function. The brain, resting within the protection of the skull, is the most complex organ in the body. Within its folds and layers, billions of neurons form networks of unimaginable complexity. Different regions of the brain carry out different tasks, yet they are deeply interconnected. The cerebrum, with its wrinkled surface, is responsible for higher thought, language, memory, and voluntary movement. The cerebellum, smaller and tucked beneath, coordinates balance and precision. The brainstem, connecting the brain to the spinal cord, regulates vital functions, such as breathing, heartbeat, and sleep. Within these structures lie deeper regions: the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, each playing a role in processing sensation, regulating the internal environment, or storing memory. The brain is not a collection of separate parts but an orchestra, each region contributing its own melody to the whole. The spinal cord extends downward from the brain, protected within the vertebral column. It serves as a highway of communication, carrying signals between the brain and the body. Nerves branch from the cord, reaching outward to the skin, muscles, and organs. Reflexes, those automatic responses that occur without conscious thought, are often processed here. When you touch something hot and withdraw your hand instantly, it is the spinal cord that commands the muscles, sparing the delay of sending the message all the way to the brain first. This efficiency demonstrates the adaptability of the nervous system, capable of both rapid reflex and thoughtful response. The peripheral nervous system includes sensory nerves, which carry information inward, and motor nerves, which carry instructions outward. It is further divided into the somatic system, controlling voluntary movement and sensation, and the autonomic system, which governs involuntary functions, such as heart rate, digestion, and glandular activity. The autonomic system itself has two complementary divisions: the sympathetic and parasympathetic. The sympathetic division prepares the body for action, quickening the heartbeat and directing blood to the muscles. The parasympathetic division restores calm, slowing the heart, aiding digestion, and promoting rest. These two divisions balance one another, ensuring that the body responds to challenges but also recovers afterward. The nervous system is remarkable not only for its complexity but for its adaptability. Neurons can strengthen their connections through repeated use, a property known as plasticity. This is how learning occurs, as new pathways are formed and existing ones are reinforced. Even in adulthood, the brain remains capable of change, adapting to new experiences and recovering, to some extent, from injury. This plasticity is a quiet reminder that the nervous system is not fixed but dynamic, always reshaping itself in response to the world. Supporting the neurons are glial cells, which outnumber neurons and provide essential care. They supply nutrients, remove waste, insulate axons with myelin to speed impulses, and guide development. Without glial cells, neurons could not survive. They are the silent caretakers of the nervous system, often overlooked but indispensable. Their work allows the neurons to carry on the tasks of sensation, thought, and movement. The senses themselves are extensions of the nervous system, specialized to gather information from the environment. The eyes capture light, focusing it onto the retina, where photoreceptors transform it into electrical signals. The ears detect vibrations in the air, converting them into nerve impulses that the brain interprets as sound. The nose and tongue contain receptors for chemicals, giving rise to smell and taste. The skin contains a variety of receptors for touch, pressure, temperature. Each sense feeds into the nervous system, providing streams of information that the brain integrates into the seamless experience of being in the world. Within the nervous system, there is also a constant dialogue between the inner and outer worlds. Sensory signals report what is happening outside the body, while internal signals monitor temperature, blood pressure, hunger, and other states. The brain balances these inputs, adjusting the activity of organs and muscles to maintain homeostasis. In this way, the nervous system serves as both a window to the environment and a guardian of internal stability. To reflect upon the nervous system is to appreciate the miracle of communication within the body. A thought, arising silently, may trigger a cascade of signals that results in a spoken word, a written phrase, or a simple gesture. A sensation, such as the brush of fabric against the skin, may lead to an adjustment in posture or movement. All of this occurs without pause, in endless sequences of signals and responses. The nervous system is the thread that ties together body and mind, perception and action, self and world. Even in rest, the nervous system continues its work. As you drift into sleep, networks of neurons shift their patterns, generating dreams, consolidating memories, and maintaining vital rhythms. The parasympathetic system guides the body into calm, slowing the heartbeat, lowering blood pressure, and promoting repair. The nervous system does not rest in the way muscles do. It changes its state, but it remains active, always vigilant, always maintaining the flow of life. It is comforting to imagine this network at work within you now. Billions of neurons communicating, glial cells supporting them, signals moving silently through pathways that have been shaped by your experiences. This system, though hidden, is what allows you to feel, to think, to remember, and to dream. It is the most intimate of networks, for it is not only part of your body, it is the foundation of your consciousness, the silent background against which the story of your life unfolds. The nervous system, in its vastness and intricacy, reminds us of the beauty of connection. It is the body's messenger, interpreter, and coordinator, weaving together the threads of existence. As you rest, it continues its ceaseless work, ensuring balance, guiding rhythms, and sustaining the quiet harmony of life. 10. The circulatory system. The human body is like a landscape full of movement, and one of the most constant and essential flows is that of blood. The circulatory system is the body's river network, carrying oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and other vital substances to every cell, while removing wastes that must be cleared away. It is a system that never rests, beginning its work even before birth and continuing steadily until life's end. Through its endless cycles, it sustains tissues, fuels energy, supports healing, and maintains balance. To reflect on the circulatory system is to imagine the quiet pulse within, the rhythm that marks each moment, as steady as the tides or the turning of the earth. At the center of this system is the heart, a muscular organ no larger than a clenched fist, yet powerful enough to pump blood through thousands of kilometers of vessels. Its rhythm is both automatic and adaptable, speeding up when activity demands more oxygen, slowing down when the body rests. Within the heart are 4 chambers, 2 atria and 2 ventricles. The right atrium receives oxygen-poor blood returning from the body and passes it into the right ventricle, which pumps it to the lungs. There, the blood takes in fresh oxygen and releases carbon dioxide before returning to the left atrium. From there it flows into the left ventricle, whose thick muscular walls contract with great force, sending blood out into the aorta and through the body. This cycle repeats with every beat, a continuous loop of renewal. The blood itself is a remarkable fluid, composed of cells suspended in plasma. Red blood cells are the most numerous, carrying oxygen bound to hemoglobin molecules. Their biconcave shape increases surface area, allowing efficient exchange of gases. White blood cells, fewer in number, serve as defenders, seeking out and neutralizing harmful invaders. Platelets, small cell fragments, assist in clotting, ensuring that wounds are sealed and bleeding controlled. Plasma, the liquid portion, carries nutrients from digestion, hormones from glands, and wastes to be excreted. Every drop of blood is a miniature ecosystem, teeming with activity, supporting life in countless ways. The vessels that carry this blood form an intricate network. Arteries, with their thick muscular walls, carry blood away from the heart under high pressure. They branch into smaller arterioles and finally into capillaries, where the walls are so thin that exchange can occur. Oxygen diffuses into tissues, while carbon dioxide and wastes move into the blood. From here, capillaries merge into venules and veins, which carry blood back toward the heart. Valves within veins ensure that the flow moves in one direction, even against gravity. This constant circulation links every cell to the heart, every organ to every other, in a seamless web. The circulatory system is not only a means of transport but also a regulator. It helps maintain temperature by directing blood flow toward the skin when cooling is needed, or conserving heat by reducing flow when warmth must be preserved. It balances fluid levels, adjusts pH, and distributes hormones that guide development and activity. In times of injury, it rushes clotting factors and immune cells to the site, beginning repair. In times of rest, it quietly sustains tissues, keeping them nourished and alive. The circulatory system is both a highway and a guardian, carrying life forward and preserving its stability. One of the most remarkable aspects of circulation is its constancy. With each heartbeat, about 70 milliliters of blood are pumped, and with an average of 70 beats per minute, the heart moves thousands of liters of blood every day. Over the course of a lifetime, the heart may beat more than 2.5 billion times, and yet we rarely notice it. The heart's rhythm is automatic, generated by specialized cells in the sinoatrial node, which act as a natural pacemaker. These cells create electrical impulses that spread through the heart, coordinating contraction in perfect sequence. The nervous system can adjust the rate, quickening it during exertion or slowing it during rest. But the rhythm itself is self-sustaining. It is a quiet assurance that life continues without need for conscious effort. Circulation to the lungs, known as pulmonary circulation, ensures that blood is constantly refreshed with oxygen. Systemic circulation carries this oxygen-rich blood to the rest of the body, from the crown of the head to the tips of the toes. Coronary circulation, a smaller but vital loop, supplies the heart itself, feeding its muscle with the oxygen it needs to sustain its endless labor. Together, these pathways ensure that no part of the body is left unsupported. To picture the circulatory system is to imagine rivers branching and rebranching into finer streams, reaching every valley and hill of the body's landscape. In the brain, tiny capillaries bring oxygen to neurons, supporting thought and awareness. In the muscles, blood delivers glucose and oxygen to fuel contraction. In the skin, vessels open and close, regulating temperature and color. Even in the bones, blood nourishes marrow, where new blood cells are formed. The system reaches into every hidden corner, leaving no cell beyond its care. The blood also carries signals that allow distant organs to communicate. Hormones released by glands travel in plasma, reaching targets far away. Insulin from the pancreas tells cells to absorb glucose. Adrenaline from the adrenal glands prepares the body for sudden action. Thyroid hormones regulate metabolism throughout the body. These chemical messages depend on circulation, which acts as their courier. In this way, the circulatory system is not only a supplier of energy, but also a messenger, linking the body's systems into one coordinated whole. The resilience of the system is striking. When the body is injured, blood flow is quickly directed to protect vital organs. When exercise demands more oxygen, vessels dilate, and the heart beats faster. When rest is needed, the system slows, conserving energy. These adjustments occur through feedback loops, guided by nerves and hormones, ensuring that balance is preserved. The circulatory system adapts constantly, flowing like water around obstacles, adjusting to the terrain of life. It is calming to realize that even now, as you breathe softly, this system continues its ceaseless work. Your heart beats quietly in your chest, sending blood through its circuits. Your lungs fill and empty, refreshing the blood with oxygen. Nutrients from earlier meals travel to cells, and wastes are carried away for removal. Immune cells drift, ready to respond if needed. Hormones flow, guiding balance. You need not direct any of this. It happens naturally, faithfully, in the background of your being. To reflect on the circulatory system is to recognize that life is movement. Stillness, too, depends on hidden motion, the steady flow within. The circulatory system is the river that never ceases, the pulse that sustains existence. It unites the body, nourishes it, protects it, and carries it forward through every moment. In its rhythm, we find reassurance, for as long as the heart beats and the blood flows, life continues. And as you rest, that rhythm carries on, steady and sure, a quiet reminder of the body's harmony. 11. The respiratory system. The act of breathing is so natural, so constant, that we rarely pause to consider its quiet significance. From the moment of our first breath at birth until the final exhalation at life's end, the respiratory system sustains us with an unbroken rhythm. It is the gateway through which the body exchanges air with the world, drawing in oxygen to fuel the chemistry of life and releasing carbon dioxide, a byproduct of that chemistry. This cycle continues without interruption, whether we are awake or asleep, active or still. The respiratory system is both simple and profound, a flow of air that connects the innermost workings of our cells with the vast atmosphere surrounding us. The journey of air begins with the nose and mouth, where it is filtered, warmed, and moistened before passing inward. Tiny hairs called cilia, along with a layer of mucus, trap dust and particles, protecting the delicate tissues deeper within. From here, air moves through the pharynx and larynx, passages that also play roles in swallowing and speech. The larynx houses the vocal cords, thin folds that can vibrate as air passes, producing sound. But beyond their role in expression, these structures serve the essential purpose of guiding air safely into the trachea, the sturdy tube that leads into the chest. The trachea, reinforced by C-shaped rings of cartilage, remains open as air moves through it, branching into two primary bronchi that enter the lungs. Within the lungs, these bronchi divide again and again, forming a tree of ever smaller branches, bronchioles spreading throughout the organ. At the tips of these branches lie millions of tiny air sacs called alveoli, each surrounded by a fine network of capillaries. It is here, in these microscopic chambers, that the true exchange of gases takes place. Oxygen diffuses across the thin walls of the alveoli into the blood, where it binds to hemoglobin in red blood cells. At the same time, carbon dioxide moves from the blood into the alveoli to be exhaled. This exchange is both delicate and efficient, occurring across surfaces so thin that they almost seem insubstantial, yet vast in total area large enough to cover a tennis court if spread out flat. Breathing itself is powered by the muscles of respiration, most notably the diaphragm, a dome-shaped muscle at the base of the chest. As the diaphragm contracts, it flattens downward, enlarging the chest cavity and drawing air in. When it relaxes, the chest cavity decreases in size, and air is pushed out. The intercostal muscles between the ribs assist, lifting and expanding the rib cage with each inhalation. Together, these muscles create the rhythm of breathing, a rhythm so steady that we often forget it is a muscular act at all. The respiratory system is more than a simple exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. It also regulates the balance of acids and bases in the blood, maintaining pH within narrow limits. Carbon dioxide, when dissolved in plasma, can alter this balance, and so its removal is crucial. Breathing is also linked to temperature regulation and to the production of sound for communication. The lungs even act as filters, trapping small clots or particles before they can reach the delicate circulation of other organs. Every breath carries with it not only oxygen, but also a host of subtle adjustments that contribute to homeostasis. Control of breathing is guided by centers in the brainstem, particularly in the medulla and pons. These centers monitor levels of carbon dioxide and oxygen in the blood and adjust the rate and depth of breathing accordingly. If carbon dioxide rises, breathing becomes deeper and faster, expelling more of the gas. If oxygen falls, receptors signal the need for increased ventilation. This control is mostly automatic, freeing us from the need to consciously manage our breathing. Yet, unlike many other systems, respiration can also be influenced voluntarily. We can hold our breath, sigh deeply, or speak in words and song. This dual nature of breathing, both automatic and under conscious control, makes it unique, a bridge between the involuntary and voluntary realms of the body. The lungs themselves are not uniform. The right lung has 3 lobes, while the left, to make space for the heart, has 2. Each lobe is subdivided into segments, each with its own blood and air supply. The lungs are enclosed by the pleura, thin membranes that create a smooth surface, allowing them to expand and contract without friction against the chest wall. Between these membranes lies a small amount of fluid, a cushion that aids their movement. Despite their softness, the lungs are resilient, capable of inflating and deflating millions of times across a lifetime. The respiratory system is intimately linked with the circulatory system. Without blood flow, oxygen could not be carried from the alveoli to tissues, nor could carbon dioxide be removed. Without oxygen from the lungs, the circulatory system would have nothing to deliver. This partnership shows the interconnectedness of organ systems, each incomplete on its own, yet complete together. It is also worth reflecting on the symbolic nature of breath. In many cultures and traditions, breath is seen as life itself, the force that animates the body. The word spirit in several languages is linked to the word for breath. This symbolism arises naturally, for breath is the most immediate sign of life, the first act of a newborn, and the last of the dying. Each inhalation is a renewal, a reminder that life continues moment by moment. Even now, as you sit or lie quietly, your respiratory system continues its work without need for thought. The diaphragm moves gently, the lungs expand and contract, the alveoli exchange gases with the blood, oxygen flows inward, carbon dioxide flows outward, and balance is preserved. This rhythm is constant yet unobtrusive, a background music to existence. You may not notice each breath, but each one sustains you, linking you to the world around you with every exchange of air. To picture the respiratory system is to imagine a tree within the chest, branches spreading, leaves opening to the sky. Air flows through these branches, nourishing the body just as water nourishes roots. The leaves, delicate alveoli, capture the invisible molecules that sustain life. The tree within mirrors the trees of the world outside, both exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide, both participating in the grand cycle of life on Earth. In this way, every breath ties you not only to your own body, but to the living world around you. As you rest, the respiratory system continues its ceaseless rhythm. Inhalation, exhalation, the quiet rise and fall of the chest. It is steady, dependable, and soothing, a reminder that life flows without interruption. The lungs, soft and light, fill and empty, again and again, sustaining every cell with the air drawn from the world. There is calm in knowing that you need not guide this process, for it unfolds naturally, as it has since your first breath. The respiratory system is the gentle tide within, the breath of life that carries you forward. 12. The skeletal and muscular systems. To understand the human body as a living, moving form, one must look to the partnership between the skeletal system and the muscular system. These two networks, though distinct, are inseparable. The skeleton provides structure, protection, and a framework, while the muscles provide movement, strength, and expression. Together, they transform the body from a soft and fragile organism into one capable of standing, walking, lifting, and shaping the world around it. Yet this partnership is not only about movement, it is also about stability, resilience, and the quiet support that allows every other system of the body to function. The skeleton is often thought of as something lifeless, a rigid structure hidden beneath the skin. But in truth, it is a living tissue, active and dynamic. Bones are constantly being broken down and rebuilt, responding to the stresses placed upon them. They serve as reservoirs for minerals such as calcium and phosphorus, releasing them into the blood when needed and storing them when plentiful. Within the marrow of certain bones lies the birthplace of new blood cells, where stem cells give rise to red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. In this way, the skeleton does more than support. It also nourishes, protects, and sustains. The human skeleton is composed of 206 bones in adulthood, though at birth there are more, many of which fuse as the body grows. These bones vary greatly in size and shape, from the long femur of the thigh to the tiny ossicles of the middle ear, the smallest bones in the body. They are joined at joints, where movement becomes possible. Some joints, such as those in the skull, are immovable, fused to protect the brain. Others, such as those in the spine, allow limited flexibility. Still others, such as the shoulder and hip joints, are ball and socket structures capable of wide ranges of motion. Joints are cushioned by cartilage and lubricated by synovial fluid, ensuring that movement is smooth and friction is reduced. Ligaments, strong bands of connective tissue, hold bones together, while tendons connect bones to muscles, completing the bridge between structure and motion. The skeletal system also serves as a shield. The skull encloses the brain, the rib cage surrounds the heart and lungs, and the vertebrae protect the spinal cord. Without this protection, the delicate tissues of the body could not survive the forces of the external world. Even as you rest, your bones continue to bear weight, maintaining posture and supporting the organs within. They are the silent pillars of the body, present in every moment but often unnoticed. If the skeleton provides the framework, the muscular system provides the power to move it. Muscles are tissues specialized for contraction, shortening their fibers to produce force. There are 3 types of muscle in the body: skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. Skeletal muscles are those attached to bones, under voluntary control, allowing you to walk, run, write, or speak. Smooth muscles line the walls of internal organs and blood vessels, moving food along the digestive tract and regulating blood flow, without need for conscious thought. Cardiac muscle is unique to the heart, contracting rhythmically to pump blood throughout the body. Focusing on skeletal muscles, we find that there are more than 600 of them in the human body, working in pairs and groups to create movement. Each muscle is composed of bundles of fibers, and within each fiber are smaller units called myofibrils. These contain repeating sections of proteins, actin, and myosin that slide past one another during contraction. This sliding filament mechanism is the essence of muscle function, converting chemical energy from ATP into physical force. The nervous system initiates this process, sending electrical impulses that release calcium ions, triggering the interaction of actin and myosin. Though invisible from the outside, this microscopic dance is what lifts an arm, bends a leg, or even allows the eyelids to close in sleep. Muscles rarely work alone. Most movements require coordination between opposing pairs, known as agonists and antagonists. When one contracts, the other relaxes, ensuring smooth motion. For example, when the biceps of the arm contract to bend the elbow, the triceps relax. When the triceps contract to straighten the arm, the biceps relax. This balance prevents jerks and ensures control. Other muscles act as stabilizers, holding joints steady while movement occurs. The coordination of hundreds of muscles allows the body to perform actions both powerful and delicate, from lifting heavy objects to threading a needle. The muscular system is also deeply linked to posture. Even when we are still, muscles are at work, maintaining tone and balance. This quiet activity allows us to stand upright, to hold the head aloft, and to remain steady as we move through space. Without this constant support, the skeleton would collapse under its own weight. Muscles and bones together create the capacity for movement while also ensuring stability. Both the skeletal and muscular systems are influenced by use and experience. Bones become stronger when subjected to stress, a principle known as Wolff's Law. Weight-bearing exercise encourages the deposition of minerals, increasing bone density. Similarly, muscles grow larger and stronger with repeated use, as fibers adapt to the demands placed upon them. This adaptability ensures that the body can adjust to different challenges, from carrying loads to recovering from injury. Yet disuse has the opposite effect, leading to weakening of both bone and muscle. This balance reminds us that the body is not fixed but responsive, reshaping itself according to how it is lived in. Together, The skeletal and muscular systems form what is known as the musculoskeletal system, a single integrated design for movement and support. This partnership is evident in every step you take. The bones provide the levers, the joints provide the pivots, the muscles provide the force, and the tendons transfer that force. Ligaments guide and stabilize, cartilage cushions, and nerves direct the timing. Every action, no matter how small, is the result of this intricate collaboration. It is calming to reflect that even in stillness, these systems are at work. Your skeleton bears your weight, protecting your organs, storing minerals, and producing blood cells. Your muscles, even at rest, maintain tone, adjusting subtly to keep you balanced. The diaphragm, itself a muscle, moves with each breath, supported by the ribs it attaches to. This cooperation continues without pause, whether you are active or asleep, whether you notice it or not. The skeletal and muscular systems also carry a symbolic weight. They give the body not only motion but also presence. The shape of the bones defines the form, from the curve of the skull to the length of the limbs. The muscles overlay this structure, creating expression in posture, in gesture, and in movement. Together, they allow the body to interact with the world, to build, to create, to embrace, to reach outward. Without them, life would remain confined within the body's core, unable to extend itself into the environment. As you rest now, these systems remain faithfully at work. Bones continue their quiet remodeling, balancing strength and flexibility. Muscles continue their subtle contractions, holding you steady. The heart, a muscle itself, beats within the shelter of the ribcage, its rhythm sustaining the body. The skeletal and muscular systems, though silent, form the stage upon which all of life's movements play out. They are the foundation of motion, of stability, of presence itself. To reflect on them is to see the unity of structure and function, of strength and grace. They remind us that life is not only about thought or sensation, but also about movement and form. The skeletal and muscular systems are the body's architecture and its engines, the pillars and the power. Together, they create the capacity to live in the world, to move through it, to shape it, and to rest within it. And as you drift toward sleep, they continue their ceaseless support, steady and dependable, the quiet foundation of your being. 13. The digestive system, the human body, in its complexity, relies on a steady supply of energy and materials to sustain its countless processes. This supply comes from the food we eat, which must be broken down, transformed, and absorbed before it can become part of us. The digestive system is the network responsible for this transformation. It is a continuous passage, stretching from the mouth to the anus, with specialized organs along the way that break food into smaller components, extract nutrients, and eliminate what cannot be used. It is not a simple process, but a sequence of carefully orchestrated steps, each dependent on the one before. To consider the digestive system is to imagine a journey, with food as a traveler moving through landscapes that change in form and function until it is no longer something separate from the body, but something integrated within it. The journey begins in the mouth, where food is first taken in. Here, the mechanical work of chewing breaks it into smaller pieces, increasing the surface area for enzymes to act upon. Saliva secreted by glands, making it easier to swallow, and begins the chemical process of digestion. The enzyme amylase, present in saliva, starts breaking down starch into simpler sugars. Though simple and often overlooked, this stage is essential, for it prepares food for the longer passage ahead. The tongue helps to move the food, shaping it into a bolus and pushing it toward the throat. Swallowing, though it feels effortless, is a complex reflex, involving multiple muscles, ensuring that food enters the esophagus and not the airway. The esophagus is a muscular tube that carries food from the throat to the stomach. It does this not by gravity alone, but through coordinated waves of contraction known as peristalsis. These waves move the bolus downward, regardless of the body's position. At the lower end of the esophagus lies a sphincter, a ring of muscle that opens to allow food into the stomach and closes to prevent backflow. This simple gate ensures that the journey moves forward, one direction only, toward the deeper chambers of digestion. The stomach is a muscular sac, expandable and strong, where food is mixed with gastric juices. Its lining secretes hydrochloric acid and enzymes, creating an environment capable of breaking down proteins and killing harmful microbes. The stomach's walls contract rhythmically, churning the contents into a semi-liquid mixture called chyme. Here, proteins are unfolded and cut into smaller chains by the enzyme pepsin. The stomach does not absorb much itself, mainly water, alcohol, and certain drugs, but it prepares food for the intensive absorption that follows in the small intestine. Its role is both protective and transformative, ensuring that what passes onward is ready for the next stage. From the stomach, chyme enters the small intestine, a long coiled tube divided into 3 regions: the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. The duodenum receives not only chyme from the stomach but also secretions from the pancreas and liver. The pancreas produces enzymes capable of breaking down carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, while the liver produces bile, stored and released from the gallbladder, which emulsifies fats into smaller droplets. These secretions are essential, for they allow the complex molecules of food to be reduced into their simplest forms: glucose from carbohydrates, amino acids from proteins, and fatty acids and glycerol from fats. The walls of the small intestine are covered in folds, villi, and microvilli, creating a vast surface area for absorption. Here, nutrients cross into the blood or lymph, entering the circulatory system that will deliver them throughout the body. Glucose enters the bloodstream and travels to cells for energy. Amino acids are carried to tissues for building proteins. Fats enter lymphatic vessels before joining the bloodstream, providing dense energy reserves. Vitamins and minerals are absorbed as well, each playing roles in metabolism, growth, and repair. The small intestine is the true site of nourishment, where the outside world is transformed into the inner life of the body. What remains passes into the large intestine, also known as the colon. Here, water and electrolytes are reabsorbed, compacting the material into solid waste. The colon is home to trillions of bacteria, collectively known as the gut microbiota. Far from being harmful, many of these microbes play beneficial roles, breaking down fibers that human enzymes cannot, producing vitamins such as vitamin K, and influencing the immune system. The presence of this community reminds us that the body is not alone, but a partnership, sustained by life forms that coexist within us. The large intestine prepares waste for elimination, ensuring that the body retains what it needs and discards what it does not. Finally, waste is expelled through the rectum and anus, completing the journey. Though this end stage may seem less noble than others, it is vital, for elimination prevents the buildup of harmful substances and allows the body to remain in balance. Every stage of digestion, from the first bite to the final elimination, is necessary for life. Each step depends on muscles, nerves, secretions, and feedback loops, all working in harmony to transform food into energy and structure. The digestive system is more than a mechanical process. It is also a rhythm that links us to the cycles of the day. Meals mark the passage of time, providing fuel and comfort. The act of eating connects us to the natural world, to plants and animals, to soil and sunlight, all condensed into the nourishment we take in. Each molecule of glucose carries the energy of sunlight captured by plants, passed through the food chain, and delivered into our cells. In this sense, digestion is not only biological but also cosmic, linking the human body to the larger cycles of nature. The system is also deeply regulated. Hormones such as gastrin, secretin, and cholecystokinin coordinate secretions and movements, ensuring that enzymes are released at the right time and that muscles contract in the right sequence. Nerves monitor stretch and chemical composition, adjusting motility as needed. The brain and the gut communicate continuously, influencing appetite, satiety, and mood. This connection is so strong that the gut is sometimes called the second brain, a place where the nervous and digestive systems intertwine. Even as you rest, your digestive system may be at work. Muscles contract, enzymes flow, and nutrients are absorbed, all without need for thought. The stomach and intestines move with their own rhythm, independent yet coordinated, part of the body's ceaseless maintenance. This quiet activity sustains you, turning food into energy, building blocks, and reserves. You are nourished not by conscious effort, but by the automatic, faithful work of this system. To reflect on the digestive system is to see the body as part of a greater flow. Food enters, is transformed, and becomes part of you, before what remains is returned to the world. Energy passes through, molecules cycle, balance is maintained. It is a system of transformation, of connection, of continuity. Every bite, every swallow, every quiet contraction of the intestines participates in the ongoing story of life, sustaining the body one meal at a time. 14. The endocrine system. Within the body there exists a system that does not move blood like the heart, nor does it carry air like the lungs, nor does it churn food like the stomach. Instead, it sends its influence quietly through chemical messengers, guiding growth, metabolism, reproduction, and balance. This system is the endocrine system, a network of glands and cells that release hormones into the bloodstream. These hormones travel widely, touching tissues near and far, whispering instructions that shape the body's inner rhythms. Unlike the nervous system, which communicates rapidly through electrical signals, the endocrine system works more slowly, but its effects last longer, setting the pace for growth, regulating energy, and maintaining homeostasis across days, months, and even years. At the heart of this system lies the concept of hormones, small molecules secreted into the blood that bind to receptors on target cells. Each hormone has its own message, and each receptor is tuned to hear only that message. This specificity allows precision, ensuring that insulin lowers blood glucose without interfering with the rhythm of the heart, and that thyroid hormones regulate metabolism without disrupting reproduction. Hormones are like letters sent across the body, each one addressed to a specific recipient, each one carrying vital instructions. The endocrine system is composed of many glands, each with unique roles. The pituitary gland, often called the master gland, rests at the base of the brain. Though small, no larger than a pea, it exerts wide control by releasing hormones that influence other glands. It secretes growth hormone, which stimulates tissues to grow and repair. It releases thyroid-stimulating hormone, prompting the thyroid gland to produce its own hormones. It produces hormones that influence the adrenal glands, the reproductive organs, and even milk production in the breasts. The pituitary acts as a conductor, ensuring that the orchestra of glands plays in harmony. Above the pituitary lies the hypothalamus, a region of the brain that links the nervous and endocrine systems. It senses conditions such as temperature, hunger, and stress, and in response, releases hormones that control the pituitary. Through this connection, the body unites thought and chemistry, awareness and regulation. The hypothalamus reminds us that the mind and the body are not separate but deeply intertwined, each shaping the other through signals both electrical and chemical. The thyroid gland, located in the neck, produces hormones that regulate metabolism, the rate at which cells use energy. These hormones, thyroxine and triiodothyronine, influence nearly every tissue, determining how quickly nutrients are burned, how heat is produced, and how growth proceeds. The thyroid is like a thermostat, adjusting the body's energy expenditure to meet its needs. When demand rises, it increases metabolism, fueling activity and growth. When demand falls, it slows metabolism, conserving energy. This regulation is subtle but profound, touching every aspect of life. Adjacent to the thyroid are the parathyroid glands, small structures that control calcium balance. Calcium is not only a mineral for bones but also a signal for muscles, nerves, and blood clotting. By releasing parathyroid hormone, these glands ensure that calcium levels in the blood remain within narrow limits, drawing it from bone when needed, or encouraging its storage when abundant. This quiet balance allows the body to maintain strength and function without disruption. Sitting atop the kidneys are the adrenal glands, small but powerful structures with layered functions. The outer cortex produces hormones, such as cortisol and aldosterone. Cortisol helps the body respond to stress, mobilizing energy reserves and suppressing unnecessary functions during times of challenge. Aldosterone regulates salt and water balance, influencing blood pressure. The inner medulla produces adrenaline and noradrenaline, hormones that prepare the body for immediate action by quickening the heart, raising blood pressure, and redirecting blood flow to muscles. Together, the adrenal glands embody the body's dual response to the world, the readiness to act in the moment, and the capacity to adapt over time. The pancreas is both an endocrine and exocrine organ, releasing digestive enzymes into the intestine while also producing hormones such as insulin and glucagon. Insulin lowers blood glucose by encouraging cells to absorb it, while glucagon raises blood glucose by prompting the liver to release stored sugar. These two hormones work as partners, maintaining balance and ensuring that the brain and muscles have a steady supply of energy. Without this balance, blood sugar levels would swing wildly, disrupting the delicate chemistry of life. The reproductive organs also serve as endocrine glands. In males, the testes produce testosterone, influencing the development of male characteristics and supporting sperm production. In females, the ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone, guiding the menstrual cycle, pregnancy, and the development of female characteristics. These hormones also influence mood, bone health, and cardiovascular function, showing that reproduction is not their only role. The endocrine system, through these glands, shapes not only the continuation of life, but also the quality of health across a lifetime. The pineal gland, a small structure deep in the brain, secretes melatonin, a hormone that regulates sleep and circadian rhythms. It responds to light and darkness, helping the body align with the cycle of day and night. Though tiny, the pineal gland influences patterns of rest, a reminder that the endocrine system shapes even the most subtle rhythms of life. Throughout the body, there are also scattered cells with endocrine functions, releasing hormones that influence digestion, appetite, and immune response. This distribution shows that the endocrine system is not confined to a few glands but is woven throughout the body, present wherever balance must be maintained. What makes the endocrine system remarkable is not only the diversity of its hormones but also the way they interact. Few hormones act alone. Instead, they form feedback loops, adjusting their levels in response to conditions. When blood sugar rises, insulin is released. When it falls, glucagon takes over. When thyroid hormone levels increase, the pituitary reduces its signals, preventing excess. These loops create stability, allowing the body to adapt without drifting into extremes. The result is homeostasis, the steady state that defines life. The endocrine system also demonstrates the interplay between the short term and the long term. Adrenaline prepares the body for immediate action, while cortisol shapes the longer recovery. Growth hormone influences development across years, while thyroid hormones adjust metabolism moment by moment. Melatonin regulates the daily cycle, while reproductive hormones guide cycles measured in weeks or months. Together, these hormones create layers of time within the body, each contributing to the overall rhythm of existence. Even now, as you rest, the endocrine system continues its work. Insulin and glucagon adjust to your blood sugar. Thyroid hormones maintain your metabolism. The adrenal glands fine-tune blood pressure and energy levels. Melatonin rises in the darkness, guiding your body towards sleep. These signals move silently through the blood, influencing every organ, every cell, without need for your attention. They are constant companions, subtle and faithful, shaping the body's balance from within. To reflect on the endocrine system is to see the body as a community, not only of structures but also of messages. It is a system of communication, a dialogue between glands and tissues, a conversation carried in molecules. Its work is invisible, but its effects are everywhere, in growth and repair, in mood and energy, in reproduction and rest. The endocrine system is the body's quiet guide, its chemical symphony, ensuring that life flows smoothly from moment to moment. And as you drift toward sleep, it continues its whispers, carrying instructions through the blood, maintaining harmony within the body, steady and sure. 15. The immune system. Within the human body, there is a system that works with quiet vigilance, a system that is neither constant in rhythm like the heartbeat, nor visible in motion like the breath, but rather a watchful guardian that awakens when needed. This is the immune system, a network of cells, tissues, and molecules that defend the body against harm. Unlike the structural strength of bones or the steady contractions of muscles, the immune system's strength lies in recognition and memory, in the ability to distinguish between what belongs and what does not, between the self and the invader. It is a system that acts mostly in silence, preparing and protecting without our awareness, and only at times of challenge does its presence become felt. The immune system is not located in a single organ, but spread throughout the body, woven into the blood, the lymph, the skin, the bone marrow, and the lymphatic vessels. It is diffuse and yet unified, like a constellation whose stars are scattered across the sky but together form a pattern. This distributed nature allows it to watch over every part of the body, always ready to respond. Blood and lymph are its highways, carrying cells and signals to wherever they are needed. Bone marrow is its cradle, where immune cells are born. The thymus, spleen, lymph nodes, and tonsils are its training grounds and gathering places, where cells learn, mature, and coordinate their responses. The immune system is less a single structure than an entire landscape of defense. At its foundation are white blood cells, also known as leukocytes. These are the soldiers and scouts of immunity, each with a role to play. Some are phagocytes, cells that engulf and digest invaders. Among them, neutrophils are rapid responders, rushing to sites of infection. Macrophages, larger and longer-lived, patrol tissues, consuming debris and alerting other cells to danger. Dendritic cells capture fragments of invaders and present them to other immune cells, serving as messengers that link detection to response. These cells are the innate immune system, the first line of defense, acting swiftly and broadly against threats. The adaptive immune system, by contrast, is slower to respond but far more precise. It is built around lymphocytes, which include B cells and T cells. B cells produce antibodies, specialized proteins that recognize specific invaders and mark them for destruction. Each antibody is like a key designed to fit one lock, and once created, it can be reproduced in great numbers, flooding the blood and neutralizing threats. T cells come in several forms. Helper T cells coordinate the response, releasing signals that activate other cells. Cytotoxic T cells directly attack infected cells, eliminating them before the infection spreads. Regulatory T cells ensure that the response does not go too far, protecting the body from harming itself. Together, B cells and T cells provide a tailored defense, one that not only fights the present invader, but also remembers it for the future. Memory is one of the most remarkable features of the immune system. Once the body encounters a particular virus or bacterium, it creates memory cells that remain long after the infection is gone. These cells are primed to respond quickly if the same invader returns, often eliminating it before illness even develops. This is why many childhood illnesses, once experienced, do not return, and it is also the principle upon which vaccines are built. By introducing a harmless part of a pathogen, vaccines train the immune system to recognize it, creating memory without the risks of full infection. In this way, the immune system not only defends but also learns, adapting its responses to the challenges it has faced. The lymphatic system is a crucial partner in immunity. It consists of vessels that collect excess fluid from tissues and return it to the bloodstream, along with lymph nodes scattered along the way. These nodes act as checkpoints, filtering the lymph and housing concentrations of immune cells. When an infection occurs, lymph nodes may swell as immune cells multiply within them, preparing for battle. The spleen plays a similar role, filtering blood instead of lymph, removing old red blood cells, and providing a site where immune cells can gather. The thymus, located in the chest, is where T cells mature, learning to distinguish between self and non-self, a training that ensures precision and prevents accidental harm to the body's own tissues. Even the skin and mucous membranes are part of the immune system, serving as physical barriers that block entry. The skin secretes oils and acids that inhibit microbial growth, while mucus traps particles and cilia sweep them away. In the stomach, acid destroys many microbes before they can pass further. These barriers are not active in the same way as immune cells, yet they are essential, forming the first wall of defense against the outside world. The immune system communicates through chemical signals known as cytokines. These molecules are released by cells to recruit help, amplify responses, or quiet them down once the threat has passed. This communication is constant and precise, ensuring that the right cells arrive at the right place at the right time. Without these signals, the immune system would be disorganized and ineffective. With them, it becomes a coordinated defense, capable of responding with speed and accuracy. Balance is central to immunity. Too little response, and infections can spread unchecked. Too much response, and the body can damage itself, leading to inflammation or autoimmune conditions. Regulatory mechanisms keep this balance, turning responses on and off as needed. Fever, for example, is a controlled rise in temperature that helps fight infection, but it is limited by feedback to prevent harm. Inflammation increases blood flow and immune activity at sites of injury, but it is resolved once healing is underway. These balances show that the immune system is not only powerful but also restrained, guided by principles of harmony. As you rest, your immune system continues its watch, White blood cells patrol silently, scanning for anything unusual. Antibodies drift through the blood, ready to bind to invaders if they appear. Lymph flows gently, carrying cells through its vessels, cleansing tissues, and returning to the circulation. Most of the time, these processes occur without notice, protecting you from countless challenges you never perceive. The immune system is always at work, its quiet activity ensuring that the body remains safe, whole, and in balance. It is humbling to reflect on the quiet guardianship of this system. It does not ask for recognition, nor does it rest. Its vigilance is constant, and its memory is long. Every breath of air, every bite of food, every touch of the skin brings the body into contact with the outside world, and with it the possibility of challenge. Yet the immune system stands ready, meeting these encounters with quiet strength, preserving the continuity of life. The immune system is not about destruction alone, but about renewal. It clears away not only invaders, but also the body's own worn-out cells, recycling them into new forms. It shapes development, influences healing, and interacts with the nervous and endocrine systems to maintain harmony. It is a reminder that defense and growth are not opposites but partners, each necessary for life. As you drift into deeper rest, your immune system continues its silent labor, unseen, yet unwavering. It remembers, it learns, it protects. It is the body's quiet sentinel, the guardian of health, ensuring that life continues with balance and strength. 16. The urinary system. The body, for all its harmony, generates waste as a natural result of its many processes. Every cell, as it produces energy and builds new molecules, creates byproducts that cannot remain within the blood. To maintain balance, these wastes must be removed, and water, salts, and other substances must be regulated with great care. The system that carries out this work is the urinary system, sometimes called the excretory system. It is a quiet but vital network of organs whose role is to cleanse the blood, conserve what is needed, and eliminate what is not. Without it, the delicate chemistry of life would quickly fall into disorder. To reflect upon the urinary system is to see how the body maintains its purity, filtering and balancing with unceasing devotion. At the center of this system are the kidneys, two bean-shaped organs located near the spine, just below the rib cage. Though modest in size, each about the length of a fist, they process enormous volumes of blood every day. Their surface is smooth, but within lies a complex structure of filtering units known as nephrons. Each kidney contains about 1 million of these microscopic structures, and each nephron is a complete filtration system in itself. Blood enters through small vessels, is filtered through delicate membranes, and leaves cleansed of wastes, while essential substances are returned to the circulation. The nephrons are the true laborers of the urinary system, working in silence, one drop at a time, until the blood is balanced and purified. The process begins in a part of the nephron called the glomerulus, a tiny cluster of capillaries surrounded by a capsule. Blood pressure forces water, salts, glucose, and waste products out of the capillaries and into the capsule, while larger molecules, such as proteins and blood cells, remain in the bloodstream. This initial filtrate is like a rough draft, containing both waste and valuable substances. As it passes through the rest of the nephron, it is refined with care. Tubules lined with specialized cells reabsorb water, glucose, and ions, returning them to the blood. At the same time, other wastes, such as hydrogen ions or toxins, may be secreted into the tubule for elimination. The result is urine, a fluid composed of water, salts, and waste products such as urea and creatinine, ready to be excreted. The kidneys do more than filter, they also regulate. By adjusting how much water is reabsorbed, they control the volume of blood and, with it, blood pressure. By balancing sodium, potassium, calcium, and other ions, they ensure that nerves and muscles function properly. They also influence pH, excreting hydrogen ions to prevent the blood from becoming too acidic. Beyond these roles, the kidneys secrete hormones that guide other systems. They release erythropoietin, which stimulates the bone marrow to produce red blood cells, and renin, which helps regulate blood pressure. In this way, the kidneys are not only filters, but also regulators and messengers, their influence reaching far beyond their immediate function. From the kidneys, urine flows into narrow tubes called ureters, which carry it downward to the bladder. The ureters are muscular, and like the esophagus in the digestive system, they move urine through rhythmic contractions, known as peristalsis. This ensures that urine flows steadily, regardless of position or gravity. The bladder, a hollow, muscular organ, serves as a reservoir, expanding as it fills. Its walls contain layers of smooth muscle that stretch and contract with ease, allowing it to hold varying amounts of fluid. As it fills, nerves in the bladder wall send signals to the brain, creating the sensation of fullness. When the time is right, the muscles of the bladder contract while a sphincter relaxes, allowing urine to exit through the urethra. This coordinated process is simple yet precise, ensuring that elimination occurs under voluntary control in most circumstances. The urinary system's role in balance, known as homeostasis, is profound. It prevents the accumulation of wastes that could poison the body. It maintains the right amount of water, preventing both dehydration and overload. It regulates salts, ensuring that muscles contract smoothly and nerves transmit signals properly. It even influences bone health, as the kidneys activate vitamin D, allowing calcium to be absorbed from the diet. Each of these tasks is essential, and together they form a web of regulation that keeps the body steady. The system also demonstrates the body's efficiency. Nearly all the water that enters the nephrons is reabsorbed, with only a small fraction excreted. Glucose, so valuable for energy, is normally reabsorbed completely. Even salts are carefully balanced, reclaimed when scarce and excreted when abundant. Nothing is wasted unnecessarily. This efficiency is a reminder that the body is not careless but economical, conserving what it can while discarding what it must. Though often overlooked in daily thought, the urinary system works continuously. At rest, as you sleep, the kidneys continue to filter, ensuring that by morning the body has rid itself of wastes accumulated during the night. The bladder quietly stores the urine, waiting until the time comes for release. This ceaseless work allows other systems to continue their functions without interruption. Muscles contract, nerves fire, the heart beats, and the lungs breathe, all sustained by the purification carried out within the kidneys. Symbolically, the urinary system represents renewal, the clearing away of what is no longer needed to make space for what is fresh. Just as the lungs exchange carbon dioxide for oxygen, the kidneys exchange waste-filled plasma for purified blood. This cycle reflects a broader truth, that life is not only about acquiring and building, but also about letting go. By eliminating waste, the body preserves its harmony, ensuring that new growth can occur unburdened. To reflect on the urinary system is to appreciate its quiet constancy. It does not call attention to itself, yet without it, life would soon falter. The kidneys filter with precision. The ureters carry with steady rhythm. The bladder stores with patience, and the urethra releases with control. Each part plays its role, and together they create a system of balance, protection, and renewal. Even now, as you rest, this system is at work. Blood flows through the kidneys, wastes are removed, water is conserved or released, salts are balanced, and hormones are secreted. The bladder fills gradually, unhurried, until the time comes for release. All of this occurs in silence, without need for your guidance. The urinary system is faithful in its duty. In seeing it this way, one comes to realize that the body is not only a structure of strength and motion, but also a system of cycles, each one preserving life through exchange. The urinary system is the cycle of cleansing, the river that flows within, carrying away what is no longer needed, leaving the body renewed. It is a reminder that life endures not through accumulation alone, but through balance, through the gentle rhythm of taking in and letting go. 17. The reproductive system. Among the many systems of the human body, the reproductive system is unique in that it is not essential for the survival of the individual, but is vital for the continuation of the species. While the heart, lungs, kidneys, and brain sustain life, moment by moment, the reproductive system carries the blueprint of life forward into the future, ensuring that humanity endures across generations. It is a system both biological and symbolic, linking each person to the long chain of ancestry behind them, and to the possibility of descendants ahead. To reflect on the reproductive system is to consider not only anatomy and physiology, but also continuity, renewal, and the connection between individuals and the greater fabric of life. The reproductive system is divided into male and female forms, each specialized yet complementary. Together they create and unite gametes, sperm and eggs, that carry half the genetic material of a new individual. When these gametes join, they form a zygote, the single cell from which all the complexity of a new human being begins. This union is the culmination of countless processes, guided by hormones, structures, and cycles, all finely tuned to the possibility of new life. In the male, the reproductive system is centered around the testes, paired organs located in the scrotum. The testes produce sperm, the male gametes, as well as testosterone, the primary male sex hormone. Sperm are formed in long coiled tubes within the testes, where special cells divide and mature through a process called spermatogenesis. Each sperm cell is small but highly specialized, with a head containing genetic material, a midsection packed with mitochondria for energy, and a tail that propels it forward. Millions are produced each day, ensuring a continuous supply. Once formed, sperm travel through a series of ducts. The epididymis, vas deferens, and urethra, where they mature, are stored, and finally released during ejaculation. Along the way, secretions from glands such as the prostate and seminal vesicles provide fluid that nourishes and protects the sperm. The male reproductive system is built for continuous production, ensuring readiness throughout most of life. In the female, the reproductive system centers on the ovaries, paired organs in the pelvis. The ovaries produce eggs, or ova, as well as the hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Unlike sperm, which are produced continuously, eggs are present from birth, with a finite number available. Each month, under the influence of hormones, one egg matures within a follicle in the ovary and is released in a process called ovulation. The egg then enters the fallopian tube, where it may encounter sperm. If fertilization occurs, the resulting zygote begins dividing as it moves toward the uterus. The uterus is a muscular organ lined with the endometrium, a tissue that thickens each month in preparation for possible implantation. If the zygote implants, pregnancy begins, and the uterus provides protection and nourishment as the embryo grows. If fertilization does not occur, The endometrium is shed during menstruation, beginning the cycle anew. Hormones are central to the reproductive system, orchestrating cycles and guiding development. In males, testosterone stimulates the production of sperm, shapes secondary sexual characteristics, such as deeper voice and increased muscle mass, and influences libido. In females, estrogen and progesterone regulate the menstrual cycle, prepare the uterus for pregnancy, and support the development of female characteristics such as breast tissue and fat distribution. These hormones are released in patterns, rising and falling in rhythm with daily cycles, monthly cycles, and longer stages of life, such as puberty and menopause. The interplay of hormones and tissues makes reproduction not a single act but a lifelong process, unfolding in phases of readiness, activity, and rest. The reproductive system also reveals the intimate cooperation of body systems. The circulatory system delivers hormones that regulate cycles and functions. The nervous system controls arousal and response, linking emotion and physiology. The muscular system supports childbirth, with contractions of the uterus and abdominal muscles aiding delivery. Even the immune system adapts, tolerating the presence of an embryo, which carries genetic material from both parents. In this way, reproduction demonstrates the unity of the body, as multiple systems adjust to support the possibility of new life. Pregnancy itself is one of the most remarkable transformations the body can undergo. From a single cell, the embryo develops into a fetus, nourished through the placenta, an organ formed jointly by mother and child. The placenta allows the exchange of oxygen, nutrients, and wastes, while also secreting hormones that sustain pregnancy. Over months, the uterus expands, the body adjusts, and the systems of both mother and fetus adapt in harmony. Childbirth, though intense, is the culmination of this process, as muscles contract rhythmically to bring new life into the world. The female reproductive system is thus both a generator of gametes and a nurturer of development, capable of sustaining a child from conception to birth. The reproductive system also changes with age. In puberty, rising levels of hormones awaken reproductive capacity, transforming the body with new characteristics. In adulthood, the system functions fully, producing gametes and hormones in regular cycles. In later life, changes occur again. In women, menopause marks the end of ovulation and menstruation, as hormone levels decline and the ovaries become less active. In men, testosterone levels gradually decrease, though sperm production often continues. These changes are natural stages, part of the rhythm of life, reminding us that reproduction is not constant but flows with time. Symbolically, the reproductive system carries meanings beyond its biology. It represents continuity, the way life is passed from generation to generation. It embodies cycles, with its monthly rhythms and lifelong phases. It demonstrates cooperation, as male and female systems complement one another to achieve a shared purpose. It also embodies renewal, the way one life leads to another, ensuring the persistence of humanity across centuries. Even for individuals who do not bear children, the reproductive system plays roles in health, development, and identity, reminding us that its significance is broader than reproduction alone. As you rest, the reproductive system continues its quiet cycles. Hormones rise and fall, guiding rhythms of readiness. In males, sperm continue to form, each day adding to the store. In females, follicles grow, mature, or dissolve. The uterus prepares and renews itself. These processes unfold silently, independent of thought or awareness, yet essential to the larger patterns of life. Even in sleep, the reproductive system remains in its rhythm, part of the body's ongoing symphony. To reflect on the reproductive system is to see the body not only as an individual entity but also as part of a lineage, linked backward to ancestors and forward to potential descendants. It is to recognize that within each person lies the possibility of continuity, the spark of new life. The system is both physical and symbolic, practical and profound, reminding us that the human body is more than a structure for survival. It is a vessel of renewal, of connection, and of life itself. 18. The senses. Among the many wonders of the human body, the senses hold a special place, for they are the gateways through which the world enters our awareness. Without them, the body would still live, the heart would still beat, and the lungs would still breathe, but the richness of experience would be muted. Through sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch, the world becomes vivid. Through balance and other internal senses, the body knows its place in space, its state of hunger or thirst, its level of exertion or calm. The senses allow us to perceive not only the external environment but also the inner landscape of the self. They are both physical and experiential, rooted in anatomy yet flowering into the vastness of human consciousness. Sight is perhaps the most celebrated of the senses, allowing us to take in the world at a glance. The eye is the organ of vision, a delicate sphere housed within the protection of the orbit. Light enters through the cornea, a transparent layer that bends and focuses the rays. It then passes through the pupil, the opening at the center of the iris, which widens or narrows to adjust the amount of light. Behind the pupil lies the lens, which changes shape to focus light from near or far objects onto the retina at the back of the eye. The retina is a thin layer of tissue containing millions of photoreceptors, rods, and cones. Rods are sensitive to dim light, allowing vision in darkness, while cones detect color and fine detail. When light strikes these cells, it is converted into electrical signals that travel along the optic nerve to the brain. There, in the visual cortex, the signals are assembled into images, allowing us to perceive shape, color, depth, and motion. The eye itself does not see. It gathers information. It is the brain that interprets and creates the experience of vision, transforming light into perception. Hearing, too, depends on the transformation of physical energy into nerve signals. The ear is divided into three parts: outer, middle, and inner. The outer ear collects sound waves, funneling them through the ear canal to the eardrum. The eardrum vibrates with the sound, passing the vibrations to three tiny bones in the middle ear: the malleus, incus, and stapes. These bones amplify the sound and transmit it to the inner ear, where the cochlea, a spiral-shaped structure filled with fluid, awaits. Inside the cochlea are thousands of hair cells, each tuned to specific frequencies. As the fluid vibrates, the hair cells bend, converting mechanical movement into electrical signals. These signals travel along the auditory nerve to the brain, where they are interpreted as sound. Hearing allows us to detect not only speech and music but also the subtler sounds of life: the rustle of leaves, the crackle of a fire, the gentle rhythm of breath. Taste and smell are chemical senses, detecting molecules that enter the body. The tongue is covered with taste buds, small clusters of receptor cells sensitive to 5 primary tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami, the savory taste of proteins. Each taste bud responds to certain molecules, and together they create a palette of flavors. Yet taste alone is limited. Much of what we call flavor is actually smell. The nose contains receptors in the olfactory epithelium, capable of detecting thousands of different odors. When molecules bind to these receptors, Signals travel directly to the olfactory bulb in the brain, one of the oldest sensory pathways in evolution. Smell has a special connection to memory and emotion, for the olfactory system is closely linked to the limbic system, the brain's center for feeling. Together, taste and smell allow us to enjoy food, detect danger and spoiled substances, and recall memories with a single scent. Touch is the most widespread sense, for it resides not in one organ but across the skin, the body's largest organ. The skin contains receptors for pressure, vibration, temperature, and pain. Some are close to the surface, detecting light touches or fine textures. Others are deeper, sensing firm pressure or stretching. Thermoreceptors respond to warmth and coolness, while nociceptors alert the body to potential harm. Through touch, the body perceives not only the environment but also itself, its posture, its contact with surfaces, its warmth or chill. Touch is also deeply emotional, linked to comfort, safety, and connection. A gentle caress, a warm embrace, or the softness of a blanket can calm the body as surely as food nourishes it. Beyond the 5 traditional senses lie others less often named but equally important. The sense of balance, or equilibrium, arises from the vestibular system in the inner ear. This system contains semicircular canals filled with fluid and lined with hair cells that detect movement and position. As the head turns or tilts, the fluid shifts, and the hair cells send signals about orientation. This information combines with vision and touch to give the body awareness of posture and movement. Without it, even standing upright would be difficult. There are also internal senses, often grouped under the term interoception. These include the sense of hunger, thirst, the need to breathe, or the awareness of the heartbeat. Stretch receptors in the stomach signal fullness, while osmoreceptors in the brain detect when fluids are low, creating thirst. Chemoreceptors monitor oxygen and carbon dioxide, adjusting breathing as needed. These senses keep the body informed of its internal state, guiding behavior to maintain balance. The senses are not isolated. They work together, weaving a unified perception of the world. Sight aids balance. Smell enhances taste. Touch informs vision. When one sense is diminished, others often adapt, becoming more sensitive to compensate. The brain integrates all sensory inputs into a single experience, allowing us to navigate the world with ease. This integration shows that perception is not merely the sum of signals, but their harmony, a coordinated creation of consciousness. Even in rest, the senses continue their work. The eyes close, but they still detect light through the eyelids. The ears never sleep, listening for sounds that might require attention. The skin continues to feel the warmth of a blanket or the coolness of the air. Internal sensors monitor breathing and heartbeat, ensuring that the body remains in balance. The senses do not switch off. They shift, filtering and prioritizing, allowing sleep while maintaining safety. To reflect on the senses is to appreciate the body's connection to both the outer world and the inner self. They are the bridges between the seen and unseen, between matter and awareness. Through them, the world becomes known, and through them, the self remains grounded in the body. They remind us that life is not only chemistry and structure but also experience, the quiet miracle of perception. As you drift into rest, your senses continue their gentle watch. They soften, allowing you to withdraw from the sharpness of the day, but they remain, guiding the body, linking you to the world even in dreams. They are the gateways of life, the windows of awareness, always present, and in their quiet vigilance, they remind you that the body is not only alive but also awake to the world, perceiving, balancing, and connecting in every moment. 19. Homeostasis, the balance within. The human body is remarkable not only for the intricacy of its parts, but for the harmony with which those parts work together. Beneath the beating of the heart, the rhythm of breath, the pulse of nerves, and the flow of blood lies a deeper principle, one that unites all systems into a single, stable whole. This principle is homeostasis, the maintenance of internal balance. It is the body's quiet ability to keep its environment steady, even as the outer world changes. Temperature, water, salt, glucose, oxygen, and countless other factors must be kept within narrow ranges for life to continue. Homeostasis is the silent governor of these ranges, adjusting constantly, responding without pause, ensuring that the body remains in balance. Consider temperature as one example. Human cells work best within a narrow band of warmth. Too cold, and chemical reactions slow. Too hot, and proteins begin to lose their structure. The body maintains an average of about 37 degrees Celsius, adjusting through mechanisms of heating and cooling. When cold air surrounds us, muscles shiver, generating heat, and blood vessels constrict to conserve warmth. When heat presses upon us, sweat glands release moisture, which cools the skin as it evaporates, while blood vessels widen to release excess warmth. These adjustments happen automatically, guided by sensors in the skin and deep within the body, coordinated by the brain. We may not notice these shifts, but they occur constantly, protecting us from extremes. Water balance is another quiet triumph of homeostasis. Every cell requires water to function, and the body must conserve or release it with great care. Specialized receptors in the brain detect when fluids are low, creating the sensation of thirst, guiding us to drink. At the same time, the kidneys adjust their reabsorption of water, producing concentrated urine when water is scarce, and dilute urine when it is abundant. These adjustments ensure that blood maintains the right volume and that cells remain hydrated without swelling or shrinking. Even as you sleep, your body monitors its fluids, balancing intake and loss in silence. Glucose, the simple sugar that fuels cells, is likewise regulated with precision. After a meal, glucose levels rise in the blood. In response, the pancreas releases insulin, a hormone that encourages cells to absorb glucose for energy or storage. When glucose levels fall, another hormone, glucagon, prompts the liver to release stored sugar, restoring balance. This dance between insulin and glucagon keeps glucose within a narrow range, preventing the swings that could starve the brain or overwhelm the body. The regulation is subtle, but its effects are profound, sustaining energy for thought, movement, and rest alike. Oxygen and carbon dioxide, carried by the blood, are also held in balance. Chemoreceptors in the body detect their levels and adjust breathing accordingly. If oxygen falls or carbon dioxide rises, breathing deepens and quickens, bringing in more air and releasing more waste. If balance is restored, breathing slows. These adjustments occur breath by breath, guided by the brainstem, without need for thought. They ensure that every cell receives oxygen for energy and that carbon dioxide, the byproduct of metabolism, is removed before it accumulates. Minerals and ions, such as sodium, potassium, calcium, and chloride, are regulated just as carefully. These substances influence nerve impulses, muscle contractions, and fluid balance. The kidneys, along with hormones, adjust their levels, excreting excess and conserving what is needed. Calcium, for example, must be held within a narrow range for bones, nerves, and clotting to function properly. Parathyroid hormone and vitamin D work together to regulate its levels, drawing it from bone or increasing absorption from food when needed. Such balance is not rigid but dynamic, shifting in response to demand, yet always returning to equilibrium. Homeostasis is not the work of one system, but of all systems together. The circulatory system distributes heat, nutrients, and signals. The nervous system monitors and commands adjustments. The endocrine system releases hormones that fine-tune activity. The respiratory, digestive, urinary, and immune systems all contribute, each regulating their own domains while interacting with the others. The result is a web of feedback loops, constant communication between sensors, control centers, and effectors. Like an orchestra, each instrument may play its part, but the harmony arises from their coordination. What makes homeostasis extraordinary is its constancy. The outer world changes endlessly. Temperatures rise and fall. Food and water vary. Activity shifts from exertion to rest. Yet within, the body maintains stability. This stability is not static but dynamic, a continual process of adjustment. Balance is not the absence of change but the regulation of change, the ability to remain steady while adapting. In this way, homeostasis reflects a deeper truth about life, that continuity arises not from stillness, but from resilience. The concept of set points illustrates this principle. For many variables, the body maintains a preferred level, a set point, around which fluctuations occur. Temperature, glucose, and ion levels all have set points. Sensors detect deviations, control centers interpret them, and effectors respond to correct them. This negative feedback loop is the essence of homeostasis. Deviation triggers correction. Correction restores balance. Sometimes the set point itself shifts, as in fever, when the body raises its temperature to fight infection. Even this shift is controlled, an adaptation that illustrates the flexibility of homeostasis. Even in rest, homeostasis continues its ceaseless work. As you lie quietly, your temperature remains stable, your blood sugar balanced, your oxygen and carbon dioxide regulated, your fluids adjusted. You need not guide these processes. They are automatic, faithful, unceasing. They form the background of existence, the silent foundation upon which thought, movement, and experience are built. Symbolically, homeostasis represents harmony, the principle of balance that underlies all life. It shows that survival is not about extremes but about steadiness, not about unchanging stillness but about dynamic equilibrium. It is the body's wisdom, honed over millions of years, encoded in genes, enacted by cells, sustained by systems. It is what allows life to persist in a world of constant change. To reflect on homeostasis is to recognize the quiet miracle of the body. Without awareness, it monitors, adjusts, and balances countless variables, sustaining the narrow conditions within which life can flourish. It is a guardian, not loud or forceful, but steady and precise. And as you drift into deeper rest, it continues its gentle labor, balancing, adjusting, preserving. It is the balance within, the silent rhythm of life itself, always present, always faithful. 20. Closing reflections. As we arrive at the final part of this gentle journey through the building blocks of the human body, it is worth pausing to reflect on the ground we have covered. We began at the smallest scales, with atoms and molecules, the simplest elements of matter, which combine to form the complex structures of life. We moved through the cell, with its organelles working tirelessly in harmony. We then explored tissues, organs, and systems, seeing how cooperation at each level creates new possibilities and greater resilience. Along the way, we wandered through the landscapes of the nervous system, circulatory system, respiratory system, digestive system, and so many others, each one vital, each one contributing in its own quiet way. Finally, we considered the principle of homeostasis, the balance that unites all these systems into a stable whole. Together, these explorations reveal the human body not as a collection of parts, but as a living symphony, endlessly adapting, endlessly sustaining life. The body, in its essence, is a miracle of cooperation. No atom, molecule, or cell could accomplish what the body does alone. Life emerges from their interactions, their communication, their mutual dependence. Each building block contributes something: an enzyme that speeds a reaction, a neuron that carries a signal, a muscle fiber that contracts, a red blood cell that delivers oxygen. These contributions are small when viewed in isolation, but together they weave the vast tapestry of existence. The beauty of the human body lies not only in its structures, but also in the way they harmonize, each part supporting the others, none sufficient on its own, all essential to the whole. In reflecting on the systems of the body, we see patterns that echo through nature. The circulatory system mirrors the rivers of the earth, carrying life-giving resources to every corner. The respiratory system echoes the forests, exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide in a cycle that connects us to the wider world. The skeleton is like the mountains, providing structure and stability, while the muscles resemble flowing water, capable of movement and change. The nervous system is like a network of lightning, flashing signals across vast distances, binding the whole together. These parallels remind us that the body is not separate from the world, but a reflection of it, shaped by the same principles that shape the universe. There is also comfort in realizing how much of this work occurs without our awareness. The heart beats, the lungs breathe, the kidneys filter. The immune system protects all without conscious effort. We are carried forward by processes that began long before us, inherited from countless generations of life. This constancy allows us to focus on thought, creativity, and rest, while the body tends to its own rhythms. Even in sleep, when consciousness drifts, the body continues its ceaseless labor, repairing, renewing, and sustaining. It is faithful and unbroken, a quiet guardian that asks for nothing yet gives everything. The body also teaches us about balance. Every system exists in a dynamic equilibrium, adjusting to change while preserving stability. Too much or too little of anything, heat, water, glucose, oxygen, can disrupt life, but within narrow ranges, the body thrives. This principle, homeostasis, is not rigid, but flexible, allowing adaptation while maintaining steadiness. It is a lesson that extends beyond biology, a reminder that balance is the key not only to life, but to peace, to resilience, and to continuity. Looking back on each system, we can appreciate their unique contributions. The nervous system, carrying thought and sensation, is the bridge between body and mind. The circulatory system, with its rivers of blood, sustains every cell. The respiratory system, with its tides of air, connects us to the atmosphere with each breath. The digestive system transforms the world outside into energy and structure within. The endocrine system whispers instructions in the language of hormones, guiding cycles and growth. The immune system guards, the urinary system cleanses, the reproductive system continues life's lineage. Each system is a chapter in the story of the body, and together they form the whole book of existence. Even the senses, those gateways of perception, remind us of the beauty of connection. Through them we experience the world, gathering light, sound, taste, scent, and touch, weaving them into awareness. They are not separate from the body's inner systems, but bound to them. For perception shapes response, and response sustains survival. In this way, the senses link the inner and outer worlds, making life not only possible but vivid. In closing, it is worth acknowledging the quiet resilience of the body. Across a lifetime, it adapts to challenges, repairs wounds, and continues its rhythms, despite the passing years. Cells are replaced, tissues mend, systems adjust, and balance is restored. Though time leaves its mark, the body endures, carrying us through days of motion and nights of rest. It is not perfect, but it is steadfast, and in its steadfastness lies its wonder. As you rest now, the building blocks of your own body continue their work. Atoms and molecules interact in endless patterns. Cells divide, repair, and communicate. Tissues sustain organs, and organs maintain systems. The heart beats, the lungs breathe, the blood flows, the nerves signal. Homeostasis balances it all, ensuring that life continues in its quiet rhythm. You need not guide these processes, for they unfold naturally, faithfully, with the wisdom of life itself. To think of the body in this way is to find peace. It is to realize that within you lies an entire universe, vast in its detail, harmonious in its design. It is to see that life is not something fragile but something resilient, shaped by balance, sustained by cooperation, guided by rhythms older than memory. And as you drift into deeper rest, you carry with you the assurance that the building blocks of your body are at work, steady and true, sustaining you in silence. The lecture ends, but the body continues. Its symphony plays on, unbroken, a music without sound, a rhythm without end. The building blocks of the human body remain in harmony, and within their harmony lies the essence of life itself.